is only one of many big decisions voters made tonight in Results 2022. Good evening. This is News 6 at 7, Getting Results. I'm Ginger Gadsden.
I'm Lisa Bell. As soon as the vote totals start to come in, you will see them constantly updated right at the bottom of your screen. And as you'd expect on any election night, our News 6 team of reporters and investigators have fanned out across the state to bring you the big races. Morning anchor Justin Warmoth is here to show us the trends in studio.
But this is no ordinary election night. Central Florida is preparing for Tropical Storm Nicole, and we have team coverage from the coast to inland areas still coping with flood damage from Hurricane Ian. Our team coverage starts with Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells and our Pinpoint Weather team.
So, Tom, what is the latest on the storm's projected path?
Well, it hasn't changed a whole lot since the last time I talked to you, but the squalliness continues to rock on in here. Look at these squalls coming in off the ocean, putting down the rain, the high wind in these squalls. This could knock out some power as early as right now, tonight, because some of these could take out branches that did not come down during Ian. We could still get crushed by this, and the storm center itself is way out there in the open waters of the Atlantic. Here's the brand new 7 p.m. advisory. Wind stays the same, 65 miles per hour, still gusting to 75. Pressure has changed. It's now dropped a little bit more, 984 millibars. Remember, the wind will follow the pressure. The lower that pressure goes down, the higher that wind comes up. So this thing is primed to become a Category 1 hurricane during the overnight tonight or through the day tomorrow, coming right through the islands and making landfall right there in part of Florida, right on the East Coast by late night tomorrow night into the early morning hours on Thursday. Here's a close-up shot of what I'm talking about right there. Fort Pierce appears to be ground zero for the landing of the eye, but all the impacts will be well into our viewing area, and just about everyone in the sound of my voice is in the cone of projected movement. Standing by now with more is meteorologist Samara Kinos.
And we are all going to feel some sort of impact, just like Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells was just telling you right now. Portions of Brevard, all of Brevard County going into portions of coastal Volusia County, if we can take this full, are under a hurricane warning until further notice. You'll notice areas to the north of that under a hurricane watch tonight, and that is primarily for Flagler County. Now we look at our inland zones. All the areas in the purple are under tropical storm warnings until further notice. Areas near the Gulf Coast in the yellow under tropical storm watches. So when we think about this, how is this going to impact the coastline? Mainly what we're looking at is storm surge, folks, anywhere between about 3 to 5 feet above our normal tide levels, all up and down our coastline from Wednesday morning all the way through at least Friday morning. We're going to see beach erosion. Coastal flooding is going to be major out there along the coastline. We even have high surf advisory. So I'll touch on that. Plus we'll go county by county to show you all of the impacts, what you can expect where you live, coming up in just a few minutes. Lisa and Ginger, back to you.
All right, Samara, thank you. Most of Central Florida is already under a tropical storm warning, but a hurricane warning is now in place for all of Brevard County.
Emergency leaders are already recommending some areas evacuate tomorrow. News 6's James Barbero is live in Brevard County, where people have been filling sandbags. James.
Lisa and Ginger, a windy night here in Cape Canaveral on the beach. We want to show you where the attention shifts now after sandbag distribution is over tonight, to the rough waters of the Atlantic. And could it get much rougher? That's the fear here on the coast, the threat of the storm surge, perhaps 4 to 8 inches of rain. Just 6 weeks ago, Brevard County suffered a lot of beach erosion in the south end of the county. The South Beach is suffering an estimated $8.5 million worth of damage, according to the county. The county's already pursuing a new beach renourishment project. Could this storm, could Nicole add another million or two to that request? We'll wait and see. You mentioned the sandbag distribution. Sheriff Wayne Ivey said it was for today only, from 8 o'clock until 6 at 2 locations in the county. If you were lucky enough to be out there, if you wanted sandbags, they were on Camp Road in Sharps, across the street from the county jail, and at Wickham Park in Melbourne. We also saw the city of Cape Canaveral doing its own sandbag distribution. That was at Manatee Sanctuary Park. Now, the sheriff's office said it was for today only. Now, starting in the morning, they say they're beginning their recommended evacuation orders. It's not mandatory, just like it wasn't mandatory to evacuate during Hurricane Ian. But the sheriff is saying, if you live in a low-lying area anywhere in the county, if you live on the Barrier Island, they're recommending you don't stay here as the storm comes through. The county has shelters open. We have that list of shelters throughout Central Florida on clickorlando.com. And Lisa and Ginger, Brevard County says it will provide its next update tomorrow morning. We'll bring it to you then. Live in Cape Canaveral, Brevard County, I'm James Sparvero, getting results, News 6.
James, thank you. In Volusia County, leaders are ordering mandatory evacuations for beachside residents.
A countywide curfew there starts tomorrow night. News 6's Molly Reed is live beachside to continue our team coverage.
Well, the county is putting that mandatory evacuation and curfew in place tomorrow. Their main concern here are the beachside residents and the properties there. They say about 24 properties are already at high risk of collapsing after Hurricane Ian. Now, many of those are oceanfront with their seawalls washed away and little buffer between the ocean and the building. The fear is that this storm could bring just enough power to make them collapse, and that's why they are telling residents to evacuate. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., all residents east of the river on the Barrier Islands are under a mandatory evacuation order. They're asking them to be out by 4 p.m. There will also be a curfew starting at 7 p.m. tomorrow, closing the causeways to all eastbound traffic regardless of wind speeds.
The beachside, in particular, the peninsula, will be locked down. We will not be allowing anyone back over there unless they're a resident to go pick up supplies.
Now, the sheriff says only beachside residents, again, will be allowed over the causeway, and they will have to show proof of residency. Also under those mandatory evacuation orders are going to be any mobile homes east of I-95 and anyone in a flood-prone area. In Daytona Beach, Volusia County, I'm Molly Reed, getting results, News 6.
Molly, thank you. For Volusia and Flagler counties, beach erosion is a big worry. Hurricane Ian had already depleted the dunes and damaged seawalls.
News 6's Catherine Silver continues our team coverage from Flagler, where some evacuation orders are expected to start tomorrow.
The Flagler County emergency manager says they are most concerned about beachfront property and people on the Barrier Island. It's why that evacuation order will go out sometime tomorrow. His message tonight, make your plan now. Wind whipping on the coast already ahead of Tropical Storm Nicole's arrival, weeks after Ian's impact.
Here we go again. Too soon.
Families in Flagler County were just here, picking up sandbags, filling up, loading up. Now Nicole is moving in. What are your concerns with the storm?
Just flooding. We had a lot of flooding last time.
The emergency manager in Flagler County worries about erosion. The beaches have already taken a beating.
Real risk of significant coastal impacts from Nicole, to include dune overtopping as well as breaches.
At Flagler Pier, visitors and locals are bracing for strong wind and storm surge up to 5 feet, according to emergency management. So you're 3 blocks from the beach and then near the river as well.
Right, and our lots go back to so we worry about the tide of the river more so than the Atlantic.
On the coast, you plan, prepare.
That's how we sandbagged last time.
And pray for the best. The emergency manager says he cannot force people to leave. He does warn if you choose to stay in that evacuation zone, there may be limited emergency response. The county typically closes bridges with sustained winds of 45 miles an hour. In Flagler County, I'm Catherine Silver, getting results, News 6.
Local airports are closing ahead of the storm. Orlando International Airport and Orlando Sanford International Airport will stop operations tomorrow afternoon at 4.
Melbourne Orlando International plans to close tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon. Brevard, Seminole, and Volusia County schools will be closed tomorrow through Friday. Orange, Lake, and Sumter schools will close Thursday and Friday. Marion County is closing schools on Thursday with hopes to reopen by Friday. Flagler and Osceola schools will also have early release tomorrow, as will Orange County. And again, they will then close through Friday. UCF will be closed on Wednesday and Thursday.
And now is a really good time to make sure you have our free Pinpoint Hurricane Tracker app. Tom, Samara, and our entire team will constantly update Nicole's projected path. Search WKMG in your app store.
Any minute now, early voting results should be coming in from the 2022 midterm election. One of the big races to watch, of course, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is seeking a second term.
Democrat and former Republican Governor Charlie Crist hopes to disrupt DeSantis' plans, though. News 6's Eric Sandoval continues our election team coverage at the governor's watch party in Tampa. Eric.
Yeah, Ginger, we are outside the Tampa Convention Center right now, and you know, the ballroom doors just opened inside, and we were hoping to bring you a sense of what was happening in there, the excitement of all of Ron DeSantis' supporters. But at the last minute, the DeSantis campaign decided to change the rules and not let the press in just yet. So I'm going to be forced to just paint a picture for you of what it did look like out here just a short time ago. This entire area in front of the convention center was flooded with people, a long line of people that literally stretched around the building. These were people that were literally standing in the rain, waiting to get in to see not only the governor, but a lot of other Republican heavy hitters that are expected to take the stage here tonight. Now, within the next hour, we expect Attorney General Ashley Moody to speak to select members of the press. We've actually been invited to that meeting. We should be bringing that to you here in the next 30 minutes. We're expected to hear exactly what she thinks the numbers are going to show tonight as the polls close here in the main part of Florida, and we're waiting for the Panhandle polls to close in just about an hour's time. We hope to bring you that live here within the next half hour, but for now we are live outside the Tampa Convention Center covering the DeSantis campaign. Eric Sandoval, Getting Results News 6. Back to you.
Eric, thank you.
News 6 investigator Eric Von Anken is on the other side of Tampa Bay tonight. He is with the Christ Watch Party in St. Petersburg. Eric.
And Ginger, as Eric Sandoval was saying there, right about now as these numbers come in is when the rubber starts to meet the road. And this could be the end of the road for a man who's been in politics since the 80s. This could be the end of his third attempt to become governor of the state of Florida. Remember, the first one he won, as you said, as a Republican. This time he's going for it as a Democrat. Or this could be the beginning of his new governorship as a Democrat. The polls, as we've talked about, have been consistently against former Governor Charlie Crist. They continue to do so today. So I asked them about a very possible reality when we spoke early this morning. I said, what if he doesn't win tonight?
For you, you have been in politics for such a very long time. If tonight does not go well, what's next for you?
Tonight's going to go well, and I look forward to it. And I look forward to getting back in the governor's office and fighting for the people of Florida, fighting for a woman's right to choose, fighting to make Florida more affordable again. Forbes magazine, Eric, has rated us the most expensive state to live in. That's what Governor DeSantis has brought us. We need a governor who's focused on our Floridians and affordability and gets our rates down and fights for women. I'll be that governor.
As I said, former Governor Charlie Crist has been in politics a very, very long time, and always he's learned to be very, very positive. As you heard, right up until the last minute, his supporters are here. The room is starting to fill, and now we continue to wait for results. We'll be here all night. For now, live in St. Petersburg, Eric Von Anken, Getting Results, News 6.
Eric, thank you. Another crucial race, the U.S. Senate. Republican Marco Rubio is hoping for a third term.
Congresswoman Val Demings hopes to oust him from office, flipping that seat to the Democratic Party.
News 6 investigator Louis Bolden is live with the Demings Watch Party at the Rosen Center on I-Drive. Louis?
Well, we have not seen Val Demings yet tonight, but her staff members say she is relaxed and looking forward to see how the evening unfolds. Meantime, here at the Rosen Center, they have opened the doors to the public, and so more and more Demings supporters are starting to trickle in tonight. Of course, Demings is taking on Republican U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. It is expected to be a tight race tonight between the two. Rubio is seeking his third term. Demings was elected to Congress in 2016. She is well known in Central Florida for her years in law enforcement. She served 27 years with the Orlando Police Department at every rank level before being appointed chief. She was the department's first female chief. If she is successful tonight, she would make history again by being Florida's first black senator. Now, in his political ads, Rubio portrays Demings as very liberal. In her ad, she accuses him of not being present and not doing his job. So we will see which message resonated with voters tonight. Tonight, Demings is looking to take the next step in her political career to try and become a U.S. Senator. So we are still live here at the Rosen Center. We will be here all night, and any developments that pop up, we will let you know. Ginger and Lisa.
All right, Louis Bolden, thank you.
News 6's Lauren Cervantes is in Miami with Senator Rubio's campaign. Lauren.
Yeah, Ginger, people have started to arrive. As you can see, the room filling up behind me. Intermittent cheers from Rubio supporters. Senator Marco Rubio is expected to arrive just after the race is called, according to his campaign team, and they tell me he'll be joined by his wife and children. Now, Senator Rubio is running to hold on to his seat, which he's had since 2010. The senator confident heading into tonight, saying on Twitter a red wave is coming and that today is going to be a great day for Florida. Now, Rubio has been campaigning with Governor Ron DeSantis. They kicked off what they called the Freedom Tour after the Florida primaries, and the two have been making campaign stops together across the state. On that tour, Rubio criticized his challenger, Congresswoman Val Demings, highlighting in his speeches her voting record, aligning her with Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. At a rally yesterday morning, Rubio received an endorsement from former President Donald Trump. The senator closing out his campaign in Hialeah last night, and I am told by his campaign team that that's who will be introducing him tonight here, the mayor of the city of Hialeah, Mayor Bovo. We will be watching those election results roll in, and we'll be live here in Miami all night. For now, in Miami, I'm Lauren Cervantes, getting results, News 6.
Lauren, thank you. If Val Demings wins, it could shift the balance of power in the U.S. Senate.
But what are the early vote counts saying so far? News 6 morning anchor Justin Wormuth is here now with a look at the trends. Justin.
Yeah, it's so important to point out that these initial results that we are starting to see are those early voting tolls and also the vote by mail votes. So keep that in mind as we take you across the state as the initial results start to come in. But right now, as it stands currently, Governor DeSantis is up 51% to Charlie Crist, 48%, about 91,000 vote difference there. But if you were with us a little bit earlier, we were talking about some of the trends that we were seeing across the state based on the 2020 presidential election. And we pointed out Miami-Dade County. As you can see, based on these early votes and vote by mail ballots, Governor DeSantis has a nice, comfortable lead in Miami-Dade County, traditionally a Democratic stronghold, something that President Trump, former President Trump, took a lot of the vote away from Joe Biden on the way to his victory. So this is one that we will continue to watch. But as far as locally, we're starting to see some of the results here. Volusia County, Governor DeSantis doing well there, doing well in Brevard County. Orange County, we're seeing that as well with Charlie Crist. In the U.S. Senate, obviously, this is something that the Democrats would love to pick up a seat here with Val Demings going against Marco Rubio. And for more on the balance of power, let's send it over now to Mike Colfeld.
Thanks, Justin. Listen, it's all about numbers, votes, and what's at stake tonight. 35 Senate seats and all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are on the ballot this year. It's a lot of seats. The GOP, for the record, already has 213 seats that are considered, shall we say, a lock. They need 5 to hit 218 and gain control of the House. That's the House. Now let's take a quick look at the Senate races. On the Senate side, 10 states are considered down to the wire, from Arizona to Wisconsin. In that mix, Georgia, with football legend Herschel Walker running on the GOP ticket versus incumbent Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock. This could end up in a runoff on December 6th.
Are you talking about runoff? No, we're winning this. We ain't talking about no runoff.
He may not like that, but in Georgia, if the candidates miss the 50% threshold, a runoff is mandated, adding a dash of drama.
We have to win this election and win the future for all of our children.
Meantime, Arizona could see an upset with Democrat Mark Kelly clinging to a very slim lead over Republican Blake Masters.
Here's the problem. When they made energy expensive, they made everything expensive. They caused massive inflation.
I'm going to protect the Social Security benefits of seniors for however long I'm in the United States Senate.
So looking at this very quickly now, on the Democratic side, 35 seats, 14 leaning Democrat. On the Republican side, 30 seats that are tight, 16 leaning Republican. So as the night goes on, the balance of power obviously should be much clearer. The House, we think, leaning red wave. The Senate races, down to the wire. Lisa?
All right, Mike Holfeld, thank you. Now for more context on just what is at stake tonight, it takes someone who takes a long view of Florida politics.
Yeah, coming up in just minutes, we'll ask News 6 political analyst Dr. Jim Clark to read the tea leaves as he sees them so far. And we can't lose sight of our other really big story tonight, Tropical Storm Nicole. Chief Meteorologist Tom Searles shows us where the models agree and where there is still uncertainty about this storm.
As we look live at downtown Orlando, we are getting results in Palm Bay, Daytona Beach shores, and all of Central Florida here on News 6 at 7 and our free News 6 app.
Brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.
Or she turns again. Hey, it's Tom Sorrells. We're talking about tracking the tropics tonight. Here we go. You see the live weather radar. Squalliness has already come into Central Florida. This activity is pretty heavy right now around Deltona and Daytona Beach. Is it tied to the storm system? Yes. Yes, it is. Look, all the way out there. The center of the storm's way over there, but the outer reaches, the leading edge of the moisture is already starting to cause problems for us here in Central Florida. This is only the beginning of the big rain that will continue to come our way during the next 24 hours. 7 p.m. advisory winds are 65 miles per hour, gusting to 75. Pressure's 984 millibars. So it's going to be a Category 1 hurricane during the overnight or first thing tomorrow morning. Here's the Category 1 status right there coming through the islands, making landfall late night tomorrow night into Thursday morning. Take a close-up shot of what I'm talking about here. You'll see the activity. Look. It's impressive. The cone is still wide enough that it could make landfall way up here around the Cape, or it could go way far down south, way south of Fort Pierce. But for now, the ground zero looks to be Fort Pierce for the location of the eye. Only problem is tropical storm force winds extend 380 miles away from the center of the storm. This is a large, spread out tropical system. And by Thursday morning, there's the tropical storm force winds making it on land. There's the hurricane force winds there on the south side of Brevard County. And as time goes on, the tropical storm force winds overrun Orange, Seminole, Lake, Sumter, and even parts of Marion County. Standing by now with more impacts is meteorologist Samara Kakinos.
Hey there, Tom. And as we look, we're going to start with Flagler County, because that's where the high surf advisory is in place through at least Friday night at 7. Basically, what we're anticipating there is big, large breaking waves, possibly up near 20 feet in some spots. I would think that would be over northernmost Flagler County heading into our northern areas. But high rip current risk threat, as well as storm surge and coastal flooding all up and down the coastline. So when we look at these impacts, you can see along the coast for Flagler, Volusia, as well as Brevard, 50 to 75 mile per hour winds with rainfall totals anywhere between 4 to 6 inches. A brief tornado is possible, 3 to 5 foot storm surge. And then as we head into Orange and Seminole County, pretty much the same type of wind speed, but 3 to 4 inches of rainfall, causing some minor to moderate flooding there, and a low chance for a tornado. Osceola and Polk County, same thing there, is pretty much similar, 3 to 4 inches of rain with 55 to 75 mile per hour wind speeds. And then as we move into Lake and Sumter County, 50 to 75 mile per hour wind speeds with 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, but we could get isolated areas where we could see more rainfall, up to maybe 4.5 inches there. So I'll be back to show you the impacts for Marion County, and we'll have another look at watches and warnings coming up in just a few minutes. Tom, back to you.
All right, take a look at where it's located right now. In the pickup, the cold front is still way back out to the north and the west. Expected rainfall amounts. People keep asking, is this going to be like Ian? No, nowhere near. Only problem is, insult to injury here, we don't need this kind of rain. We could get up to 5 inches of new rain between now and the end of this thing, Thursday into Friday. Look at the in-house modeling. I just showed you the cone of projected movement could bring the top of the storm all the way up here to the Cape. Well, the in-house model does that very thing, brings the storm right ashore at the Cape, puts it right through the metro during the next 24 to 48 hours. Not a great solution to the whole thing. Again, the expected rainfall could be upwards of 4 to 5 inches before all is said and done. For tonight, the overnight low is 71. Here's tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Florida Lottery.
And the daytime high tomorrow jumps to about 79. Rain chances building through the day. High tomorrow 79, 80 on Thursday. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everything goes the other way. Don't go away from us now. We'll be right back with more election news and, of course, more about the storm.
Pardon?
An update on Tropical Storm Nicole is just minutes away.
But for some perspective now on how the races are stacking up so far tonight, we turn to our News 6 political analyst and UCF professor, Dr. Jim Clark. Jim, I know we're seeing some trends happening already. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm seeing lots of red. It looks like the pollsters were right that DeSantis is going to take this election. He is ahead in almost all of the counties, and he is picking up, it looks like, some counties that the Democrats were counting on, like Hillsborough, which is Tampa. And again, a trend we noticed 2 years ago, the Republicans are doing very well in Miami-Dade, which was once a Democratic bastion.
Wow. Okay. And the breaking news there, as you said, the pollsters were right.
Yeah, they were pretty close.
Struggle lately.
Yeah, they were pretty close in Florida. And I think the counties that are slow on reporting are mostly panhandle, rural counties, and they're going to go Republican.
All right, it's still early. It's 7:30 now. Polls have been closed generally for most of the state 30 minutes ago, so we'll keep checking back with you early and often. Jim Clark, we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you.
And we have more results 2022 all night, but our next half hour of coverage starts with an update on Tropical Storm Nicole. That is next.
Now at 7, while many eyes are on the election, all eyes need to be on Tropical Storm Nicole gaining strength and tracking this way. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ginger Gadsden.
I'm Lisa Bell. We have more results 2022 vote updates and team coverage in just a minute, but we have to start with Nicole and Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells with the latest. Tom?
Yeah, I can't remember a recent election night when I was the lead story throughout the entire night, but it's all because of what's going on with Nicole. Look at this rain coming down, this squally weather, all tied to the flow around Nicole, raining hard around Deltona, into Sanford, Winter Springs, Castleberry, torrential downpours, all of these pushing down to the south and the west at a good 25 to 35 miles per hour, all tied to the activity in the Atlantic. Now, here's the 7 p.m. advisory. I'll get another one coming up at 10 o'clock tonight. That one will have a new track. Winds are at 65, gusting to 75. Pressure has dropped to 984 millibars and will continue to fall through the overnight through the day tomorrow. This is easily going to be a strong, dangerous Category 1 hurricane by tomorrow afternoon, and it will make landfall right there south of Brevard County on this current track around Fort Pierce sometime late night tomorrow night into Thursday morning. Now let's be well heard. Since it's been a weird, slow system to get its act together, some of the models have been kind of out to lunch. We don't have perfect agreement. Some models bring it farther to the north, some farther to the south. They do not look like a braided cable like they often do. So it could come as far north up here, and it's only, 36 hours away, could be way up here around the Cape for landfall. We'll talk more about that coming up a little later in this newscast. Right now, we want to check in with meteorologist Samara Kokinos.
Hey there, Tom. And as we take a look at impacts, we're now going into Marion County. We left off with the rest of Central Florida, and we had one more county to cover, so that's Marion. As we look at the impacts there, you can expect anywhere between 50 to 75 mile per hour winds. Rainfall totals between 1 to 3 inches, but isolated maximums up near 4 to 4.5 inches are quite possible. So when we look at the potential rainfall amounts across Central Florida, you'll notice our inland zones about 1 to 3 inches there in the green, but in the orange, you'll notice that it encompasses most of Orange, Seminole, Volusia, Osceola, and Brevard and Polk counties, between 4 to 6 inches of rainfall and possibly isolated maximums up near 7 inches of rain. So when you think about all that heavy rain falling in Brevard County, where there's no flooding concern along the St. Johns there in the Cocoa, all that is going to go back to the north and add the continued flooding concern all along the St. Johns for up to a week or more after this storm has passed. We'll have more impacts coming up in just a bit. Guys, back to you.
Samara, thank you. And now is a good time to make sure you have our free Pinpoint Hurricane Tracker app downloaded. Tom, Samara, and our entire team will constantly update Nicole's projected path. Search WKMG in your app store.
A big race we are watching is the race for governor. News 6 investigator Eric Sandoval is with the DeSantis camp in Tampa. All right, here's a live look at that watch party. Attorney General Ashley Moody is expected to speak there soon.
And News 6's Eric Von Anken is live with the Charlie Crist campaign in St. Pete. Eric.
And Ginger, so the numbers are starting to come in again. We want to remind everybody these are still very early numbers, but so far Governor DeSantis leading at 53% versus former Governor Charlie Crist taking 46% of the votes. But again, it's still lots of numbers that have to come in. But Charlie Crist, being the lifelong politician, is also the eternal optimist, probably a lifelong optimist. It would be very fair to say that. A lot of people have commented on his eternal optimism, especially during this race. This has been an uphill battle against Governor Ron DeSantis. The latest polls and the most recent reputable polls have shown DeSantis way ahead by as many as 14 percentage points. But when I talked to former Governor Charlie Crist early this morning, he said his plan was to hit the campaign trail one more time for one more day to try and pull off a win. The numbers early on, at least for early voters, were favoring Republicans. So he knew that today was going to be his chance to catch up. He spent all day in St. Petersburg campaigning as hard as he could, and now we get to see if it paid off. This is a room full of his supporters. They're starting to sprinkle in here. Obviously, this is an indication that former Governor Crist is nowhere near coming out here and addressing this crowd yet, because it's not full yet. So we're going to be watching for when that happens and as these numbers come in. We're now live in St. Petersburg. Eric Von Anken getting results. News 6.
All right, Eric, thank you. Now we want to check in with News 6 reporter Lewis Bolden, who's been with the Val Demings campaign in Orange County at the watch party on I-Drive. What's the latest from there, Lewis?
Well, Lisa, we have not seen Val Demings yet tonight, and I just spoke with one of her staff members who said she will not be making an appearance until the race is called. Meantime, here at the Rosen Center, they have opened the doors to the public, so more and more Demings supporters are starting to trickle in. You can see they have the first 2 rows of seats set aside for family, friends, and her supporters. Demings is taking on Republican U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. Rubio is seeking his 3rd term. Demings was elected to Congress in 2016, but she is well known in Central Florida for her years in law enforcement. She served 27 years with the Orlando Police Department at every rank. She was the department's first female chief. Now, if she is successful tonight, she would make history again by being Florida's first black senator. In his political ads, Rubio portrays Demings as very liberal. In her ads, she accuses him of not being present and not doing his job. So we will see which of those messages resonated with voters. But tonight, Demings, again, is looking to take the next step in her political career to try and become a U.S. Senator. But again, we will not be seeing Val Demings until this race is called. When it is, of course, we will bring it to you live. Lisa, back to you in the studio.
All right, Louis Bolden, thank you.
Of course, now we go to Lauren Cervantes in Miami now with the man in the campaign that Val Demings hopes to unseat. Lauren.
Yeah, there's a feeling of excitement here amongst Rubio supporters. They've been cheering loudly behind me, watching those early returns on the big screen. Again, these numbers are very early, but what we are seeing right now is Rubio leading Demings 67-32. Again, this is early voting. Those vote by mail ballots that they receive, supervisor of elections saying that, and the early voting in-person numbers are the first posting right now. So we still have a long ways to go, but definitely hundreds of supporters here pretty excited so far. Senator Rubio is running to hold on to his seat, which he's had since 2010. The senator confident heading into tonight, saying on Twitter, a red wave is coming and that today is going to be a great day for Florida. Now, Rubio has been campaigning with Governor Ron DeSantis. They kicked off what they called the Freedom Tour after the Florida primaries, and the two have been making campaign stops across the state together. On that tour, Rubio criticized challenger Congresswoman Val Demings, highlighting in his speeches her voting record, aligning her with Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. At a rally yesterday, Rubio picked up a big endorsement from former President Donald Trump in Miami, and he closed out his campaign in Hialeah last night. His campaign team tells me that until that race is called, he will not be showing up, but he is expected to get here immediately after they do call the Senate race to give a speech, and he will be introduced by the mayor of the city of Hialeah, Mayor Bovo. For now, in Miami and watching those results pour in, I'm Lauren Cervantes, getting results, News 6.
All right, Lauren, thank you. Now, if Val Demings wins, it could shift the balance of power in the United States Senate.
But what are the early vote counts saying so far? News 6 anchor Matt Austin is in the newsroom monitoring the national trends. Matt.
So 35 Senate seats and all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are on the ballot. 218 is the number Republicans need to win control of the House. They already control 213 seats, so a pickup of just 5 seats wins back the chamber. The final CBS News Battleground tracker gives Republicans the edge to win the U.S. House, while the U.S. Senate still really considered a toss-up at this point. There are expected to be some really tight races, including Georgia, where football legend Herschel Walker is running on the GOP ticket against incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock, and in Pennsylvania, Republican Dr. Mehmet Oz against Democrat John Fetterman.
Sides are so polarizing right now, it's hard to determine where the middle is. And it's just crazy the way things are going, the way people are at each other's throats about every little detail about everything.
So this is how tight it is. The final CBS News Battleground tracker shows 6 Senate races are a toss-up right now. In the closest races, elections officials are advising it could take some time for those results to actually trickle in and be known for sure. Ladies.
Matt Austin reporting for us in the newsroom. Thank you. This election is almost certain to make congressional history.
Yeah, Democrat Maxwell Alejandro Frost is expected to handily win Congresswoman Val Demings' seat. That would make the 25-year-old the first Gen Z candidate elected to the U.S. House.
News 6's Jerry Askin is live in Orlando at Frost's watch party tonight. Jerry?
That's right. Hey, ladies, today could be a historic day if Maxwell Frost wins that U.S. House 10 race tonight. And I'm told at some point tonight, Maxwell Frost will address the crowd. Right now, we are at his watch party at the Abbey in downtown Orlando, where supporters are here cheering on Frost as they wait for those final results to come in. You may can see Frost right there. I want to also show you all some video we shot earlier today at UCF, where Frost went around campus encouraging students to vote. He told me he also wanted to target young students, hoping they could help him to a victory. Now, Frost is a 25-year-old young activist from Orlando here. Earlier today, I asked Frost why he's best suited for the job. And what's your platform? Why do you believe you're the best person for this position?
We're at a time right now where there's a lot of division, right? We have affordable housing is out of whack in Orange County. Gun violence is on the rise. The leading cause of death for children is guns right now. Our reproductive rights, our civil rights are under attack, and we need someone who's going to fight in D.C. for Central Floridians.
Yeah, and back live here at Frost's watch party, where we're told he will address the crowd here in any minute. Frost is running against his opponent, I should say, is a military veteran, Republican Calvin Winbush. We did reach out to his camp today for a statement and an interview, and we have not heard back. Again, we're live from the Frost watch party. I'm Jerry Askin here in downtown Orlando, getting results. Back to you.
Jerry, thank you. We will have more coverage of results 2022 in minutes, but we cannot forget Tropical Storm Nicole.
Yeah, most of Central Florida is already under a tropical storm warning, but a hurricane warning is in place for all of Brevard County.
Emergency leaders are already urging some areas to evacuate tomorrow. News 6's James Sparvero is in Brevard County, where people have been filling sandbags.
With sandbag distribution for just one day ahead of Nicole, Brevard County now shifts its focus on the rough waters of the Atlantic. A strong storm surge and potentially 4 or 8 inches of rain could be coming. The Brevard Sheriff's Office, with its inmates from the county jail across the street,
You all good, sir? Have a great day.
giving away free sandbags at Camp Road in Sharps and Wickham Park in Melbourne. Can you tell me why you wanted to get sandbags?
Make sure we don't flood.
Just 6 weeks after Hurricane Ian flooded some communities, flooding is one of the top concerns, with Nicole threatening to make landfall on the Central Florida coast.
Our biggest fear is that no one takes this storm seriously. We want you to understand that this storm is going to be impacting us with winds, with surf.
Sheriff Wayne Ivey saying leaving ahead of Nicole's potential landfall is advised for people living on the barrier island or in any low-lying or flood-prone neighborhoods, or for those who live in mobile homes. Evacuations are not mandatory.
Look at your scenario and determine if you want to evacuate. We know that our citizens are going to make the right choices for themselves and their families and their pets.
And Wednesday morning is when the county says it will provide its next Facebook Live update ahead of the storm. In Cape Canaveral, Brevard County, I'm James Sparvero, getting results, News 6.
James, thank you. In Volusia County, leaders are ordering mandatory evacuations for beachside residents.
A county-wide curfew there starts tomorrow night. News 6's Molly Reed is live beachside to continue our team coverage tonight.
Volusia Sheriff Mike Chitwood issuing a curfew and mandatory evacuation order starting tomorrow. The focus really being on beachside residents and oceanfront properties.
It was taken after consulting with engineers, with our cities up on the peninsula. There are buildings that are in imminent risk of collapsing.
The county says there's about 24 buildings along the coast at high risk. Their seawalls washed away during Hurricane Ian, and many property owners didn't have time to put up temporary ones. Daytona Beach Shores has about a dozen of those buildings.
Be some that the seawall looks okay. We don't know below that what is happening, and that's why we're concerned for every single one of the condos and hotels.
Starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, all Volusia residents east of the river will be under a mandatory evacuation order. There will also be a curfew starting at 7 p.m. tomorrow, closing the causeways to all eastbound traffic regardless of wind speeds.
Once that curfew goes into effect, we're not allowing any gawkers up there so they can go on the beach and take pictures, and they're not doing that. It's going to be a complete lockdown.
Now again, the sheriff says only beachside residents will be allowed over the causeway. They have to show proof of residency. Also under that mandatory evacuation order are going to be mobile homes east of 95 and anyone in a flood-prone area. In Daytona Beach, Volusia County, I'm Molly Reed, getting results, News 6.
Chief Meteorologist Tom Searles is next with an update on Tropical Storm Nicole.
We will also have more results 2022 coverage in minutes.
All right, come take a look at what's happening on live weather radar right now. The squally weather has already kicked in. We've been addressing this all afternoon. Pounding rain rolling in from the northeast with the surface wind just dragging that rain right in. This is kind of a precursor of what lies ahead with Tropical Storm Nicole. 7 o'clock advisory has wind speeds of 65, gusting to 75 miles per hour, and the path turns it into a Category 1 hurricane. They're holding off till tomorrow afternoon. I really think we might wake up to a hurricane tomorrow morning. It should deepen during the overnight, and then the track takes it across our state in about 12 hours. Here's a close-up view of what I was just showing you. Landfall. Late night tomorrow night, about 1 o'clock in the morning, Thursday morning, and then way over here by Thursday afternoon, right along the Gulf Coast, being picked up and raced away by the next cold front that's trying to march in. Standing by now with more about what to expect is meteorologist Samara Kokinos. Hey, Samara.
Hey there, Tom. And all of Central Florida is under some type of watch or warning. So as we break it down for you, we're going to start with the red along the coast in Brevard County, going into coastal Volusia under a hurricane warning until further notice. You'll notice also areas to the north of that in Flagler along the coastline under a hurricane watch right now. Inland zones, however, are under that purpley blue color. That is a tropical storm warning until further notice, and then it's getting closer to the Gulf Coast. That's where you see the yellow for tropical storm watch. The arrival of tropical storm wind gusts will happen along our coastline, along the East Coast first. By Wednesday morning at about 8 a.m., you'll start to notice it's getting really, really gusty. The surf is going to be very, very rough out there, and you'll notice also during high tides, the waves will come crashing in. By 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, inland zones will start to feel the tropical storm wind gusts and then continue to push to the west by then. Let's go back to Tom now with more details.
All right, Samara, come take a look at what's happening. Clouds and rain forecast. Now, all the modeling for the most part starting to shift to the south. The cone still comes right through here from the Cape all the way up into the metro. Watch the in-house model. Rain through the day tomorrow, off and on, kind of like today. Then late night tomorrow night, the lashing really does begin on the coast. And this thing has it going to the top of the cone and coming right through the heart of the viewing area. What would that mean for rain? Well, rainfall amounts are going to get big in spots. Some of you may pick up as much as 5 inches of additional rain between now and the end of the storm. Low tonight, 71. Here is tomorrow. The daytime high tomorrow goes back to about 79, and we are going to start to cool down once we get past this hurricane. So 79 tomorrow, 80 for the storm on Thursday. Then check out that weekend. All is looking good in Central Florida once Nicole is gone. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more election results and more on the tropics.
All right, taking a look at some of the early results now in the U.S. Senate race. Senator Marco Rubio has 55% of the vote. Val Demings, 44%.
And we do want to take a quick look at the governor's race right now in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis leading this one with 57% of the vote. Charlie Crist with 43%. Thanks for watching an extended edition of News 6 at 7. Our Results 2022 coverage continues nonstop all night on the News 6 Plus Smart TV app and at clickorlando.com.
Yeah, CBS election coverage is heading your way next. We'll see you at 11.
All right, well, election night is just getting started in Florida. Polls across the state are now officially closed as of 3 minutes ago. So glad you are with us on this election night. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. As the numbers come in and key races are called, we will bring you the results live right here on clickorlando.com and News 6 Plus and YouTube. Our crews are across the state tonight covering the big races and reaction. And in studio, our team is keeping a close eye on where the votes stand, along with the balance of power in both Florida and in Washington, D.C.
But before we get to those results 2022, there's another big story tonight. We're trying to keep this balanced here. Tropical Storm Nicole is expected to become a hurricane before hitting Florida. Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells is standing by with the latest track and potential local impacts.
All right, let's take a look, starting out with watches and warnings. First, the entire coastal zone from up here around the Flagler-Volusia County line all the way through Brevard County has a hurricane warning in effect. Across the interior, it's a tropical storm warning for everyone until you get way over to the Gulf Coast, out of the viewing area, before things go to a watch condition. So no matter where you are in Central Florida, you're either under a hurricane warning or a tropical storm warning. Tonight, we're getting lashed by some of the onshore flow. Squally weather has already set up here in Central Florida. Now, our winds are not up to tropical storm strength for the most part, but in some of these squalls, some of that high wind might be coming down to the surface. We're getting big time rain out of this stuff already piling up. You do see they do diminish as they come across the interior. Level 3, level 4, rain for a while, then down to level 1, level 2. But the closer you go to the coast, the heavier the showers are. Mims getting pummeled with rain right now. This little piece of energy here just came through Titusville. This is kind of a precursor of what tomorrow is going to look like into Thursday. Tropical Storm Nicole, wind speeds of 65, gusting to 75. Pressure has dropped through the day today down to 984 millibars. Movement still to the west-southwest at 10. We'd like for it to go farther south. I don't wish any bad feelings on my friends down south, but the farther it can go away from us, the better. Should become a Category 1 hurricane either overnight tonight or first thing through the day tomorrow. And the path to projected movement brings it in here along the Gulf Coast in about a 12-hour span. Standing by now with more is meteorologist Samara Kinos.
Conditions along our coast were already deteriorating this past weekend and for the start of the work week. And now as we head closer to Wednesday and Thursday, they're going to continue to get worse. So when we're talking about deteriorating conditions, we're talking about seas between about 9 to 11 feet, making it very dangerous for mariners or small craft. You're advised to stay in port on Wednesday and Thursday. We're talking about breaking waves, 8 to 10 feet, dangerous, life-threatening rip current risks all in place all along our coastline, as well as beach erosion and coastal flooding going to be a major issue. We could see the coastal flooding in addition to storm surge of 3 to 5 feet. Additionally, on top of those high tides. So we're talking about potential rainfall totals 1 to 3 inches across our inland zones, 4 to 6 closer to the coast. We'll be back with more details and impacts coming up in just a bit, guys.
All right, Samara, thank you. We will check back in with our Pinpoint weather team throughout the night. Until then, make sure to download our free News 6 Hurricane Tracker app. Get the latest advisories and alerts from our team. Just search WKMG in your app store.
Back to results 2022 with the top contest on the Florida ticket, the race for governor. Earlier results show that Governor DeSantis has won this race handily. The Associated Press has in fact just called the race for Governor DeSantis. News 6's Eric Von Anken is with the Charlie Crist campaign in St. Pete. But first, we want to get out to investigator Eric Sandoval with Governor DeSantis' campaign. I have to imagine that the enthusiasm is high there right now, Eric.
Yeah, and actually, if you would have come to us just 20 seconds earlier, the entire crowd was chanting USA, USA, and just erupting into applause. And I think you're probably going to hear more of that coming up. You know, a lot of people were asking me as we went into our coverage tonight, when do you think this race is going to be called? When do you think this race is going to be called? And, you know, I think the feeling generally was as soon as the polls closed in the Panhandle, which is an hour behind us, that we'd get a really good sense of what the election was looking like for the governor's race. And apparently the Associated Press thought the same thing. And as soon as the polls closed, they declared Ron DeSantis the winner here. I don't know from our vantage point if you can see a large part of the crowd. We're really sandwiched in here on the risers, I have to tell you. But there is a huge crowd down there. And a lot of the people who are actually lined up outside were really dressed to impress. A lot of them had buttons on that had, blinking Ron DeSantis signs on them. They had hats on that had, Christmas lights with the American flag draped over it. Really a sense of their favorite son, them wanting their favorite son to win another term in Tallahassee. Now, let me bring you up to date on some other developments since the last time I saw you at 7 o'clock. We were one of very few stations, actually one of 4 stations in the state of Florida that was invited into a private room with Ashley Moody to talk about her expectations as the night went on. She said the numbers are really looking good right now, and if you look at the numbers that are coming in, they're looking very good in her favor. She said that she is ready to keep on fighting for the state of Florida, and she said she wanted to come out early and express her thanks to the people of Florida for continuing to support her as her son and her husband flanked her. I think she wanted to call it an early night just to get her son to bed and just put everything to bed. We also heard from Wilton Simpson, another Republican who is up for election tonight for the Agriculture Secretary. He echoed her excitement and said that he also looks forward to being elected as the Agriculture Secretary. But again, you can hear the hoots and hollers right behind me. A big crowd here with big satisfaction tonight as the Associated Press officially calls the race for Ron DeSantis to serve another term as the governor of the state of Florida. We are in the Tampa Convention Center covering the DeSantis campaign tonight. Eric Sandoval getting results, News 6. Back to you.
Eric, thank you.
Okay, you could feel the energy and the joy in that room. I have to imagine it's the exact opposite where our Eric Von Anken is. He's with the Charlie Crist campaign, who is looking right now in the face of a 15-point drubbing at the moment, and it could only get worse as the Panhandle begins to respond here. Eric, what's it like in there?
Well, Matt, I can tell you ain't no hoot and hollering here. It's not a funeral per se, but the mood is decidedly different. They still have the music coming out of the speaker here on my right, but there's no celebrating because obviously reality is starting to set in. I just talked to some of the people here, and these numbers are still coming in, and yes, this isn't final, but it is very, very difficult to overcome this deficit with just a few votes to still come in. And you know what's different? Jeff, I don't know how much we can show of the room here, but it's not full. And so I just had a conversation with one gentleman over here, and I said, when we were here for the primary, so it was a different hotel, but it was in St. Petersburg. This was 2 months ago. The room was jam-packed. And of course, there was a whole lot of excitement and energy looking forward to the potential. Well, of course, we didn't know how this was going to go. For sure, polling was projecting that DeSantis was pulling ahead by as many as 14 points. I'm talking about the most recent reputable polling, as much as 14 points ahead of former Governor Charlie Crist. But what this gentleman told me is that of all the people who were invited, it came down to who decided that they wanted to show up tonight. And there's no official explanation, but he seems to feel that's why this room isn't full tonight. I mean, there's maybe a few dozen people compared to the few hundred that we saw on primary night. So they're still just waiting it out now. There's still no sign of former Governor Crist here, but obviously they want to hear from him. If they chose to show up tonight, even knowing that the odds were stacked against them and knowing that it would come down to Election Day and knowing that even if a whole bunch of Democrats turned out versus the Republicans who turned out to vote early, and those folks showed up to vote, even for Charlie Crist, they realized it likely wasn't going to be enough. But if still, knowing all that, they showed up tonight, they still want to hear from him. So typically, how this works is once a race is called, and once it's pretty clear that that deficit has not been able to be overcome, that's when you hear from the candidate. Now, all bets are off in these last few election years, but typically that's how it works. So we're expecting to hear from Charlie Crist fairly soon. I'll let you know as soon as we get some indication of him coming out. But for now, live in St. Petersburg at the Crist campaign, Eric Von Anken getting results, News 6.
Eric, we appreciate it again, the AP calling this race for Governor Ron DeSantis.
Turning to the race now for U.S. Senate, the latest numbers showing similar results. Republican Marco Rubio leading Val Demings right now by double digits. News 6's Lauren Cervantes is in Miami following Senator Rubio's campaign. Lauren?
Yeah, and I know Eric Sandoval had mentioned the enthusiasm over there in Tampa. That was echoed in this room when the governor's race was called. As you can imagine, Rubio and DeSantis have been campaigning together across the state. So folks here are watching the numbers roll in. We heard them hooting and hollering here in this room when they called that race for DeSantis. And in fact, Rubio's campaign staff has been coming around here trying to warn us that the senator is expected to arrive shortly, and they said that he would be coming as soon as the race was called, so that might be an indication that we might see some numbers here shortly. As you mentioned, he is leading right now in the polls, 56 to 43% over his challenger, Congresswoman Val Demings. Now, if Senator Marco Rubio were to hold on to his seat, it would be his third term as U.S. Senator. He's been in office since 2010. I can tell you that hundreds of people are here. They were expecting about 900 people tonight. A number of them are in the hallways that you can't see, but as these numbers have been rolling in, people have been filling this room and really all eyes glued on the big screens at the front of the room, just watching the results. And every time they call the state of Florida, whether the governor's race or the latest numbers for Senator Rubio, people are cheering in this room. So we're watching very closely, and we could be coming back here shortly. Here we go, more hooting and hollering. They're talking about Florida on the big screen behind us. So you can see the enthusiasm in this room really is great here, filled with Rubio supporters. The senator is expected to come shortly, and he will be joined by his wife and children, according to his campaign staff. They tell me that he is confident and that they're feeling good with the direction the numbers are going right now. For now, live in Miami, I'm Lauren Cervantes, getting results, News 6.
Lauren, thank you.
Well, for years we have sat on this very set and we have shown many wins from the Demings family. It does not look like things are going the same route tonight, but still the race has not been called. News 6 investigator Lewis Bolden is in Orlando, where Representative Val Demings is hoping she can maybe make a late move and possibly win Rubio's Senate seat. Lewis?
That's right, Matt. Val Demings actually could make history tonight. If she were successful, she would be the state of Florida's first black senator. But as you mentioned, she is trailing her opponent right now. Meantime, here at the Rosen Center, they have opened the doors to the public and people are mingling and having a good time. You can see they have the first two rows set aside for family, friends, and Demings supporters. Now, Demings is taking on Republican U.S. Senator Marco Rubio. Rubio is seeking his third term. Demings was elected to Congress in 2016. She was reportedly on the short list to be a running mate with President Joe Biden during his presidential campaign. She was also one of the House managers for the first impeachment of President Donald Trump. She served 27 years with the Orlando Police Department and was the department's first female chief. Demings still refers to her years in law enforcement, but in his political ads, Rubio portrays Demings as very liberal. Now, in her ad, she accuses him of not being present and not doing his job. We will have to see which of those messages resonates most with voters. But again, at last check, Marco Rubio is leading in this race. Now, we heard from... We have not seen Val Demings tonight, but I spoke with one of her staff members a little bit earlier who said she will not be making an appearance until the race is called. But when it is called and when she does hit this stage, of course, we will bring it to you live. For now, we're going to send it back to you in the studio. Matt?
All right, Lewis Bolden live in Orlando for us. Thank you.
In the race for Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody declaring victory tonight and thanking her supporters. She was going head-to-head against Democratic challenger Aramis Ayala. Ayala is the former state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties.
Many times you have to make decisions when you know they are right, even when the right thing may not be the popular thing. And that, my friends, is leadership. And that is what I pledge to you as your Attorney General for the next 4 years.
All right, want to show you the results here in the U.S. House District 7 race. This district used to cover Seminole County and a part of Orange, but the Florida legislature voted to redraw this. It now includes Seminole County, part of Volusia, Republican Corey Mills has now defeated Democrat Karen Green. The AP has called the race 58% for Corey Mills to 42% for Green.
U.S. House District 3, which covers parts of Marion County. Here we have incumbent Kat Cammack running to keep her seat against Democratic challenger Danielle Hawk. And it looks like the incumbent will be taking that one as well tonight.
U.S. House District 6, which it was reshaped this year, now includes parts of Lake and Marion, along with Volusia and Flagler counties. Congressman Mike Waltz will keep his seat, beating a Libertarian Party candidate, Joe Hanoush.
Voters in Brevard and Orange counties in U.S. House District 8, they had incumbent Bill Posey versus Democrat Joanne Terry. Bill Posey with 65% of the vote.
And Congressman Darren Soto vying to keep his seat against Republican Scotty Moore in U.S. House District 9. Closer than a lot of people might expect here in House District 9. It covers parts of Orange, Osceola, and Polk counties. Darren Soto gets 53% of the vote to 47% for Moore.
And it was a hot race in the primary. U.S. House District 11, which covers parts of Orange, Lake, Polk, and Sumter counties. Incumbent Daniel Webster against Democrat Shanti Munns in this race. The incumbent Daniel Webster had no problem beating this one with 63% of the vote.
And U.S. House District 10, here we go. This race has been called now as well for Maxwell Alejandro Frost. It's mostly Orange County. This is the seat Val Demings left to run for the Senate. Again, Democrat Maxwell Frost beats Republican Calvin Wimbish.
News 6's Jerry Askin is at Maxwell Frost campaign headquarters in Orlando tonight, where it has been a big party down there tonight, Jerry.
Oh, yeah, Lisa, a big party here, and I can tell you, in fact, Maxwell Frost will address the crowd here any minute. He claimed a victory about 10 minutes ago. Right now, we are waiting for him to address the crowd. You see the stage there, and folks are waiting for him to speak. We're at his watch party in downtown Orlando. He officially won the U.S. House 10 seat, as you mentioned, being filled by U.S. Rep. Val Demings. Supporters are here cheering him on, and Frost told me earlier today that he wants to focus on key issues like affordable housing, reducing crime, violence, and so much more. He's a 25-year-old activist from Orlando who says he really wants to make a difference. But again, a lot of excitement here at his watch party. He will be speaking any minute, so we're kind of waiting for that to happen. And of course, we'll bring that to you live when it does. We're live at the Abbey in downtown Orlando. I'm Jerry Askin, getting results. News 6.
All right, Jerry Askin reporting for us. Thank you.
So we are going to take a moment to pause our digital coverage as we head over to your television set to give an update there. We'll be back in just a few minutes right here on clickorlando.com. We're going to get to our local results 2022 election coverage in just a moment.
But we have to start with the latest on Tropical Storm Nicole. We want to get right over to Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells.
Nicole is already a pest, putting down squally weather in Central Florida in the last couple of hours. Look at these rain showers and how heavy they are right on the immediate coast, north of Titusville here in Volusia County to Brevard County, around the county line, coming down to Brevard and then crossing over into Orange County. It's been raining in spots off and on for hours now. The 7 o'clock advisory with Nicole, wind speeds of 65, gusting to 75 miles per hour. Pressure's down to 948 millibars, and the path of projected movement still brings it on land by Thursday morning at 1 a.m.
All right, Tom, thank you.
Want to get you straight to Congresswoman Val Demings. Looks like she's giving a concession speech right now.
My partner. You all know him as Orlando's former police chief, Orange County's former public safety director, Orange County's former sheriff, and current mayor of Orange County, my husband, Jerry Demings. No, I did not get here alone. No man or woman is an island unto ourselves. My parents, y'all know how much I talk about them. The maid and the janitor, Eloise and James Butler. I remember they used to go to work sometimes 7 days a week, working odd jobs, growing their own food, and fishing and hunting to put dinner on our table. I can still see them coming home at the end of a day so tired. You see, but they believed in the American dream. They believed that by working hard, playing by the rules, that we can achieve anything. They believe that our democracy is the greatest foundation on which all else depends. Our democracy, and we must protect it and defend it. You see, my parents, they did not have much. They didn't have a famous last name.
All right, that's Val Demings speaking now in Orange County. We now want to go to Orlando, where Maxwell Alejandro Frost is giving a speech right now, celebrating a victory tonight.
You know, I got involved in this fight 10 years ago because of the Sandy Hook shooting when I was 15 years old. A few weeks ago, I was on social media and somebody actually commented to one of my posts, and they were mocking me. They said, this kid is a liar. He says that he became an organizer when he was 15. I see we have a lot of young people around here, and I just want to know, raise your hand if you started organizing for a better world before you turned 18 years old. The reason I bring this up is for...
All right, there's your new congressman from Orlando, Maxwell Alejandro Frost, becoming one of the youngest people ever to serve in Congress.
You can check out continuing coverage of your local election results at clickorlando.com. All right, glad you're with us for our continuing coverage at clickorlando.com. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. We want to take you out to the Charlie Crist campaign in St. Petersburg, where he is giving a speech to his supporters right now after losing the race for Florida governor.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to give a good congratulations to Governor DeSantis on his reelection. That's okay. That's okay. But I want to thank all of you. I really do. And I want to thank Florida. Florida has been great to me my entire life, and I can't thank all of my fellow Floridians for so much for so long. And it's been an absolute blessing to serve as your governor before, to serve as the congressman from my hometown. I feel like the most blessed man ever. And Governor DeSantis, to you and your family, I wish you only the best, and I wish the best to my fellow Floridians, because I love this state. I love her with all my heart. And you're great, good, decent, kind people, and you deserve nothing better than the very best that God has to offer. And I want to thank God. God's real, and God exists, and all glory to God, because we have so much to be thankful for. Please, really, do that. Elizabeth, Kathy, I love you so much. It's great to see you, my wonderful sisters. My beautiful fiance, now we can get married, Chelsea, and her beautiful children. And I'm a happy man, and I am at peace. And I'm grateful to all of you. And I just wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a very Merry Christmas. God bless Florida. Love you.
All right, that was Charlie Crist speaking in St. Petersburg to his supporters tonight after losing the race for Florida governor to Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, and he seemed like a man resigned to his fate. There was no shock and awe on his face.
Right.
And it certainly doesn't happen when you lose by 17 points. Justin Wormuth was just telling me, he's crunching the numbers over here, the record for a gubernatorial loss was 12.8%. in the past.
We have not had a Republican governor in Florida in this century, so I don't think many people, including, a Democrat. I don't think many people were surprised by these results tonight, including Charlie Crist.
That's right. We want to take a look at the Senate race now. Obviously, this race has been called as well. A little bit closer, 14-point win for Marco Rubio. He will have his third term as a U.S. Senator. Val Demings gave it a shot, but doesn't look like it's happening this time around.
All right, we want to go now to Marco Rubio's campaign, where we have Lauren Cervantes standing by with updates from there. It has been an exciting night for Rubio supporters, as it looks like he will get another term in the United States Senate. Lauren.
Rejection of the policies of the extreme
he
left.
will have his third term
and back to policies of common sense,
behind me,
of being reasonable, of being, may I say, normal, and stop pursuing the...
All right, we apologize. A little hard to hear with the loudspeaker in the background. We'll get back to Marco Rubio, especially if he takes the stage. We will definitely get you right back there to Lauren Cervantes and that event.
News 6 anchor Justin Wormuth is in studio tonight. He's been looking at some of the trends across the state. Really, it's gotten even redder since the last election. That's the big trend, it seems, that we're seeing tonight. Justin?
Absolutely, yeah, just 5 blue counties if we look at the state of Florida here. And, you know, we've been talking throughout the last 2 years, really, about the trend that we have been seeing here in the state of Florida. And is Florida truly a red state? Based on what we saw in 2020 with former President Trump defeating President Joe Biden by 3 percentage points, we said that is a landslide by Florida election standards, certainly in the past couple of years when we look at statewide elections. But this right here, a 17% margin of victory, as it stands now, we still have a few panhandle districts that have not reported any results yet. You have to figure, based on history, this will only increase. And I want to show you the difference in votes from the 2020 presidential election. You see former President Trump with 51% to President Biden's 48%, obviously doing better with Governor DeSantis there. But take a look at Miami-Dade County, something we had circled. We thought this was significant, with President Biden only defeating former President Trump by 7 percentage points. That's something we haven't seen in the last several election cycles. Today, look at these election results. An 11% margin of victory
in Miami-Dade County, once considered a Democratic stronghold. That is certainly not the case. Another thing I want to point out, Osceola County has gone blue several election cycles in a row. Obviously something resonating with the Latino vote with the Republicans because President Biden won by 13 percentage points. Governor DeSantis, 7 percentage points, and 100% of the precincts are reporting. One last Central Florida county I want to look at is Orange County. Obviously, Orlando and Orange County is often blue. It's another Democratic stronghold here in the state of Florida. Democrats really need to do well in the entire state of Florida. But when you look at the numbers, President Biden with 61% of the vote to Charlie Crist 53%, cutting that down to single digits, another county that Republicans have been doing well in over time. Hillsborough County, another county. And then Pinellas County, Charlie Crist's home county, getting beat by double digits. Really, when you look at Miami-Dade County and Broward County, that shrunk as well. Look at this. DeSantis doing better than Trump in Broward County. Palm Beach County, the same thing. All these Democratic strongholds were once Democratic strongholds, getting that margin of victory lower. And then you look at the state of Florida with how much red is out there. It is virtually impossible for Democrats to do well in statewide elections. But I want to take you through these statewide elections because Val Demings, 15%, that's the best statewide candidate as far as results are concerned tonight against Marco Rubio. It's just a bloodbath. Boom, boom, boom. 16%, 14%, 14% across the board in these statewide elections. There are some close other races that we are watching and we're continuing to wait results on, including some state house races as well. We're going to go over those and bring you more coverage throughout the night here at the election board, but send it back to you guys for now.
All right, Justin Wormuth, thank you.
All right, very fascinating how he can win by 32,000 votes 4 years ago, and now he's ahead by 1.1 million. What a stark contrast. All right, want to head out to our News 6 investigator, Lewis Bolden. He is in Orlando. That is where Representative Val Demings just made her concession speech. Lewis?
Well, Matt and Lisa, there are a lot of disappointed faces here at the Rosen Center. As you mentioned, Congresswoman Val Demings took the stage a few minutes ago. She spoke for a little less than 10 minutes. She had all of her family members lined up behind her. She talked about her mother and her father, who we've heard about before, the maid and the janitor, and what they did to build a foundation for her. And she said she still believes in democracy. Let's take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say.
You all know me, and I stand by the decision of the people. We are a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. I know that we had gathered here tonight for a different result, with a different result in mind. But I want to speak for just a moment about our democracy and where we are in our nation. You see, our democracy, it still matters. Am I right about that?
That was Congresswoman Val Demings speaking to her constituents. She also said that she reached out to Marco Rubio and congratulated him. And we're going to send it back to Matt and Lisa so that you can hear from Marco Rubio.
All right, Lewis Bolden live for us.
Again.
Thank you.
And,
We're going to go now to Miami, where Senator Marco Rubio is speaking to his supporters.
Obviously, I'm grateful for winning an election, but I'm really grateful for all the blessings I've been given, the friendships, obviously the family, this extraordinary honor to represent this extraordinary state, and the chance to be a citizen of the greatest country in the history of mankind. So I'm going to tell you right now what the media stories are going to be. They're going to be, this is amazing, the Republicans won by 13 points, 15 points. It's unbelievable. They won Miami-Dade County. They must be believing all those Cuban radio stations or whatever they come up with. Guys, you know what? Politics is really not that complicated because Americans are not all that complicated. We're a diverse people, but we're not a complicated people. What Americans basically want is what my parents wanted. It's what all of you wanted. It's what people want all over the world but have been able to fulfill here. They want to be able to have a job that pays a decent wage. They want to be able to live in a home that they own, in a neighborhood that is safe. They want their kids to go to schools that teach truth. They want to be able to retire with dignity, and they want all 4 of their kids to have a life better than the life they've had. This is not complicated. This is what they want. Now, here's what happens. Sometimes people get into politics, and either they don't know this or they forget it. And so what happens is some of these people go around saying, look, I'm sorry you're paying too much money for gasoline, but you have to suck it up. Because we have a UN climate conference that John Kerry is going to be attending, and we need to impress them. And so ride your bike or take the bus, and forget about how much gas costs and stop being selfish. You know what happens when you tell people that? They vote against you. They vote against you. They go around telling people, listen, don't worry, you can't be complaining about crime. We can't keep locking criminals up. We can't keep arresting criminals. We can't keep funding police officers. Because the only way we can make up for whatever it is they think we need to make up for is not to put criminals in jail. Crime soars, people feel unsafe. And you know what happens when you tell that to working people in this country? They vote against you. And then they go and tell them, forget about our border. We don't need a border. We care more about people that came from other countries. And listen, nobody's going to give this community a lesson about how bad things are in other places. But what country in the world can accept 6,000 people a day? And that's what they're asking you and everyone else to do. Meanwhile, we have veterans committing suicide, veterans who are homeless, veterans that have to fight with the VA. But no, they don't care about that. All they care about is we have to be compassionate for people coming from all over the world, 6,000 a day, and put aside the interest of the American people. When you tell that to people, you know what they do? They vote against you. And this has been going on for far too long. And then here comes election time, and they roll out all their friends, every celebrity, every actor. We don't have any actors really on our side, do we? Do we have any actors? No actors that can get another movie are going to be on our side. They roll out those crazy women on The View. They roll out Vogue magazine. They roll out all these things to tell us how we're supposed to vote. And they think they're going to fool people. And then when people vote against them, they say, oh, it's just information. You were confused. No one here is confused. The people in this country are going to vote for the people that fight for people like them. They're going to vote for people that are going to fight for people that care about being safe, that don't want drugs coming across our border, that don't want illegal immigration running rampant into our country, that don't want to have to pay $4 for gasoline, that don't want to have to pay 22% more than they used to for their groceries. So when you see the results across this country tonight, that's what it's all about. The people who make this country great have been forgotten and have been left behind. And what I'm most proud of is that this community, Miami-Dade, and this state, Florida, a diverse state, you find people in the state from everywhere. You find people in the state from every background. And they have joined this incredible new movement that isn't just going to change the country, it's going to change the Republican Party. After tonight, the Republican Party will never be the same, and that's a great thing for America and a great thing for Republicans. It'll never be the same, because this is a party made up of people from every color, every race, every ethnicity, men and women. Yes, men and women, that exists. And you know what we call people who are black and white and Hispanic and Asian and are men and are women and come from other countries? You know what we call them in Florida? We call them Americans. And that's what they are. They are Americans. And if we're not going to fight for, listen, I care a lot about what's happening in the world. We're impacted by what happens in the world. But my job, first and foremost, is to care about what's happening in America. Because the best thing we can do for the world is make sure that America is strong and safe and prosperous. That is the greatest gift we can give our fellow men. So these campaigns, I believe, no, I'm sure, actually, I am the only statewide candidate in Florida that was outspent by my opponent. She has every right to raise all this money. They wasted a lot of money, and I'm glad they wasted it here and not in these other states that we have a chance to win. I'm the only one that raised more money against it. I'm the only one that was outraised and outspent, and I'm fine with that. I'm 100% fine, because I knew that no amount of money was going to convince people that escaped Marxism and socialism that America should embrace Marxism and socialism. No amount of money was going to convince people that somehow a country blessed with oil and natural gas should be begging Saudi Arabia for oil and natural gas and begging Venezuela for oil and natural gas. But we had a tough campaign, and I owe a lot, and there's a lot of people I could thank, but my campaign manager, Mark Morgan, has done a great job. Where's Mark? Mark. Great job, Mark. Hey, listen. What did Albert Aguirre say? Un americano que va a una fiesta cubana está loco. Remember that line? The translation there is an American that goes to a Cuban party has to be out of his mind. But Mark has done a great job in an extraordinary and diverse state. We are a great state. Thank you, Mark. And one of the things I'm proudest of in the Senate, look, we've passed as many or more bills than anybody else, important bills. Every major bill in America that's taken on China, for example, in the last 4 years have been mine. The Chinese government doesn't like me. They've banned me. They sanctioned me. We had to cancel our vacation to Wuhan because they don't like me.
All right, we've been listening to Senator Marco Rubio giving a speech to his supporters in Miami tonight as he wins a third term in the United States Senate.
And these races could not only impact Florida, but they're going to possibly shift the balance of power in our nation's capital.
News 6 investigator Mike Holfeld joins us now in studio with a closer look at that. Mike?
I'm watching numbers. Lisa, Matt, boy, what a night this is. One race, and I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute. 47% of the vote in, man, is it close. Let's look at the balance of power first, the U.S. House. On the Democrat side, we've got 19, let's say, sure thing, 57 leaning. But remember, we told you at the beginning of the night, this is going to be close. It's going to be real close on both sides. Republican side, 32, let's call it sure thing, 67 leaning Republican. The guess is the GOP will control the House after tonight because they only needed 5 additional. So what's at stake? 35 Senate seats and all 435 seats in the House of Representatives on the ballot this year. The GOP already has 213 seats. They need at least 5 to hit 218. Looking at this number, they may hit the home run. Now let's take a quick look at the Senate races. On the Senate side, 10 states are considered down to the wire from Arizona to Wisconsin. In that mix, Georgia, with football legend Herschel Walker running on the GOP ticket versus incumbent Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock. This could end up in a runoff on December 6th.
Are you talking about runoff? No, we're winning this. We ain't talking about no runoff.
He may not like that, but in Georgia, if the candidates miss the 50% threshold, a runoff is mandated, adding a dash of drama.
We have to win this election and win the future for all of our children.
Meantime, Arizona could see an upset with Democrat Mark Kelly clinging to a very slim lead over Republican Blake Masters.
Here's the problem. When they made energy expensive, they made everything expensive. They caused massive inflation.
I'm going to protect the Social Security benefits of seniors for however long I'm in the United States Senate.
All right, so now I'm watching the numbers here, and I have to tell you, Warnock is ahead of Walker, and we said it would be close. Folks, it's close. 50 to 47 with 47 of the vote in. The New York Times, and I'm quoting now, our best estimate is its race is leaning toward Walker. Quote, leaning toward Walker. It ain't over yet, but it's a fascinating night, isn't it? Meantime, Arizona could see an upset with Democrat Mark Kelly. I think we talked about that already. And the next up is Orange County transportation tax. Guys, I'm going to send it back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you. Let's talk about that Orange County transportation tax. According to the county, that 1-cent sales tax would have raised $600 million to expand Sunrail and links, as well as roads and sidewalks. Well, the details don't really matter anymore because voters decided not to go with that 1-cent sales tax. Now, it was fairly close. It got up to 58% of the vote, but did not reach what it needed.
That's right. Mayor Jerry Demings issuing a statement on that just moments ago. My friends, I am sad to report that the 1-penny sales tax for transportation did not garner enough votes. I want to thank everyone who worked so hard. He has been pushing this for such a long time.
It was before COVID, and then he pulled back.
And it was going to supposedly generate some $600 million, I believe, annually for the next 20 years. The timing for him perhaps could not have been worse, with inflation being such a huge issue on everyone's mind right now.
Yeah, everybody's thinking about the economy, and he wants to raise the sales tax. And, you know, on going to the grocery store, it might not have made that much difference. But if you're talking about buying a car, you're talking about maybe $300 or $400 extra, and it would have hurt Orange County businesses because people might have gone to other counties to do their shopping where there is less tax.
Yeah.
So this was never a popular thing from the beginning. It also had problems because it wasn't specific enough. He talked in generalities about roads and
what
Sunrail.
specifically it would be used for. We
Exactly.
heard that it was going to be
Who
used
gets
to
how
boost
much?
Sunrail, to boost links.
Yeah, it was just very vague, and it was just kind of this big pot of money that the taxpayers were going to give Mayor Demings, and who knows what would have happened to it.
Jim, before we let you go, I want to ask you what your thoughts are overall on the night. Is this, obviously Republicans are celebrating, is this a moment where Democrats are having to reassess some things? This is, I mean, the closest race I saw Justin bring up was maybe 14%, which is an absolute drubbing. So what do you think's going on?
Yeah,
in
I
their
think the
minds?
Democrats are going to have to reassess here. When Charlie Crist ran for governor against Rick Scott, it was 49-48. And here we are with a drubbing. Val Demings led the ticket. She ran ahead of Charlie Crist by about 100,000 votes, but she couldn't do it by herself. And although she raised more money than Marco Rubio, this is a very expensive state to run in. She was not well known in other areas of the state. And the Democrats are going to have to look at this really hard. My guess is they will once again fire the state chairman.
Tomorrow, probably.
Tomorrow,
That's
yeah.
expected.
And have another election for a state chair, which apparently is the only election they can win in Florida. And so they're going to have to find some people. The Republicans have a deep bench for 4 years from now. They have a host of solid candidates, and the Democrats are really kind of void.
They just keep bringing Charlie Crist.
Yeah, you wonder if he's going to show up again.
You wonder after all
This
these
was
elections.
his 18th time on the ballot in Florida.
That is a huge number. All right, Jim Clark, UCF history
Thank you.
professor, our political analyst. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
We're going to get to our local results 2022 election coverage in a moment.
But we have to start with the latest on Tropical Storm Nicole. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells.
Hey, come take a look. Nicole's putting down rain already. Squally weather's been rolling through Central Florida in the last several hours. You can see the squalls coming through right now, with more to come during the overnight tide and through the day tomorrow. The winds have already been howling too. Look, 13-mile-per-hour sustained wind here in Orlando, but 23 at Palm Coast, 24 Daytona Beach, and 25-mile-per-hour sustained wind in Melbourne, with wind gust of 37. You see them changing, 35 in Palm Coast. Here's that 7 p.m. advisory and the track. The winds are still 65 miles per hour, set to become a Category 1 hurricane over the night tonight, overnight, or early tomorrow, making landfall late tomorrow night into Thursday morning about 1 a.m. just to the south of Brevard County. That's the current track. I will get a brand new path to projected movement in 1 hour. Back to you guys.
All right, Tom, thank you. All right, one of the big races to watch today is now over.
Not a very dramatic evening here in Florida. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis has won re-election to a second term over Democrat Charlie Crist. His victory bolsters his rise as a pretty prominent GOP star now with potential White House ambitions. Crist had previously served as a Republican governor of Florida, but most recently congressman in the Tampa area. You can see Governor Ron DeSantis right now with 59%, an 18-point victory right now, with most precincts reporting, but still more to come.
Thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to give a good congratulations to Governor DeSantis on his reelection. That's okay. That's okay. But I want to thank all of you. I really do. And I want to thank Florida. Florida has been great to me my entire life. And I can't thank all of my fellow Floridians for so much for so long. And it's been an absolute blessing to serve as your governor before, to serve as the congressman from my hometown. I feel like the most blessed man ever. And Governor DeSantis, to you and your family, I wish you only the best.
Well, in U.S. Senate race here, Republican Marco Rubio has won a third term in office. He secured that. Democrat Val Demings outspent the Rubio campaign, but the Congresswoman and former Orlando police chief came up short tonight. Here's what she told supporters a short time ago.
As you all know, things did not quite turn out the way we had hoped. But that's all right. That's all right. I have spoken with Senator Rubio, and I congratulated him and said to him that Florida is our home state. And please continue to work hard for the place we call home.
In a setback for Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings, a pet project, the 1-cent sales tax for transportation, was defeated handily. Voters did not agree with him.
Well, we have continuing coverage for you on clickorlando.com. A lot more races to cover. You can check us out there, and we'll check back in about 30 minutes. Hey, welcome back to our continuing coverage here on clickorlando.com, YouTube, and anywhere else digital. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Ginger Gatz, and so glad you are joining us. Of course, we are covering the election tonight, but another big thing that we have to talk about, Tropical Storm Nicole.
There's a few things going on today,
Yeah,
huh?
a few things. Chief Meteorologist Tom Searles joins us now. And Tom, what are we looking at right now?
Big-time tropical storm, Ginger, that's putting out squally weather now, but dangerous weather, really dangerous, by this time tomorrow. Come with me now to live weather radar. You see the onshore flow and the squalliness that has already developed. These squalls extend all the way down, say from Bartow, Lakeland, and Polk County through Osceola County, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, east of Orlando now. Orlando's picked up rain, to be sure. All the squalliness has been coming on through. The bottom line here is there's plenty more where this has been coming from. And look, it all extends out all the way out there to the system. Wind speeds, wow, okay. Things not even close to us. We already have wind speeds. These are sustained winds of 23 in Daytona Beach, 23 in Melbourne, and 26 mile per hour wind right now in Cocoa Beach. And look at these peak wind gusts in the last hour. 31 Daytona Beach, 33 Cocoa Beach, and 33 in Melbourne. Here's your 7 p.m. advisory. We'll get a brand new one within the hour. So we're going to get a brand new advisory, a brand new track as well. But as of 7 o'clock tonight, we had wind speeds of 65 miles per hour. Wind gust to 75 in this track. Comes right over here as a Category 1 hurricane. I really think it could be a Category 1 hurricane overnight tonight. Definitely through the day. Tomorrow, this path of projected movement up close looks like this. Now keep in mind the cone is still wide. It could track to the top and come right into the Cape. That'd be nasty for us. We want it to go farther south if you're praying against prayer for the folks down south. But for now, the center of the line comes right through Fort Pierce. Remember that it could go anywhere in the cone. Hurricane is not a point. So even if it does go into Fort Pierce, we still get big wind, big rain, pounding surf, and all kinds of impacts and effects from this storm system. Standing by now with more of that is meteorologist Samara Kakinos. Hey, Samara.
Hey there, Tom. And as we look at all of Central Florida under some type of watch or warning tonight, so as we look a little bit closer, you can see highlighted in the red, we're talking about coastal Brevard and inland Brevard going up into coastal Volusia County under the hurricane warning until further notice. A little bit further north into coastal Flagler County under a hurricane watch. Everywhere else inland, we're talking about all the areas in that bluish purple color, that is under a tropical storm warning until further notice, and closer to the Gulf Coast in the yellow, tropical storm watch. Now, what does this mean in terms of rainfall? What can we expect? Closer to the coastline, we're talking 4 to 6 inches of rainfall, and that could extend all the way to the I-4 corridor. Areas to the west, 1 to 3 inches, but we could see isolated maximums up near 4, possibly 4.5 inches as well. So we could get some of those downpours that add up very, very quickly. With that being said, any heavy rain that falls into Brevard or even going further south into St. Lucie County along the St. Johns will definitely eventually, very slowly, flow back to the north, causing areas like Lake Harney going into Sanford and DeLand, which are in minor flood stage, to go back up possibly even into that moderate flood stage. Astor still in the moderate flood stage, could go back up into a major flood stage, and we could see the extended flooding anywhere from about a week to a week and a half after this storm leaves. So we're talking about all these areas in and along the St. Johns that are still dealing with the flooding, only to going to see a little bit more flooding come their way, and then it kind of gradually rises, and then it's going to take its time to recede over the next week, week and a half. We'll definitely keep an eye on that, and we'll have more details on Tropical Storm Nicole coming up in just a bit. Guys, back to you.
Samara, thank you. Now back to results. 2020 with the top contest on the Florida ticket, the race for governor, really not a contest at all. Early results show Republican Ron DeSantis has won easily, beating Democratic challenger Charlie Crist.
That's right. And so you see the results there. It just every time we look at it, it seems to climb. It was 18 points. Now it is a 19-point victory, still with some precincts left to report. Charlie Crist responded with a concession speech just a few minutes ago. Take a listen.
But I want to thank all of you. I really do. And I want to thank Florida. Florida has been great to me my entire life. And I can't thank all of my fellow Floridians for so much for so long.
So I found that concession speech different from any that I have ever heard before, as he seemed resigned to his fate. And as we look live, here Governor Ron DeSantis is with his family as he gets ready to take on another 4 years as governor of the state of Florida.
We're going to listen in as soon as he takes the podium. There he is with his wife, Casey, who played a big role in his re-election campaign. You saw a lot of ads featuring her, especially toward the end, a lot of heartfelt ads with her talking about the kind of husband and father he has been, especially during her fight with breast cancer.
Yeah, you can see very happy family tonight. They must be 4 years ago, much closer, much more contentious race. He only won by 32,000 votes. He's ahead by 1.3 million votes. Now let's listen to Governor Ron DeSantis.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you so much. You know, over these past 4 years, we've seen major challenges for the people of our state, for the citizens of the United States, and above all, for the cause of freedom. We saw freedom in our very way of life and so many other jurisdictions in this country wither on the vine. Florida held the line. We chose facts over fear. We chose education over indoctrination. We chose law and order over rioting and disorder. Florida was a refuge of sanity when the world went mad. We stood as a citadel of freedom for people across this country and indeed across the world. We faced attacks. We took the hits. We weathered the storms, but we stood our ground. We did not back down. We had the conviction to guide us, and we had the courage to lead. We made promises. We made promises to the people of Florida, and we have delivered on those promises. And so today, after 4 years, the people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, thanks to the overwhelming support of the people of Florida, we not only won election, we have rewritten the political map. Thank you for honoring us with a win for the ages. I want to thank all of our campaign staff, from campaign manager Janera Peck down. This was the best run campaign in the history of Florida politics. I want to thank all of our wonderful volunteers who worked so hard to get out the vote. Your support means the world to Casey and I. God bless you and thank you. Now, it's a lot easier to run a good campaign when you got a great record to run on. And I would not have been able to see the level of accomplishments that we saw unless I had outstanding personnel working in the executive office of the governor, as well as heading state agencies. These folks worked hard to implement our agenda. They believed in our agenda, and the results have been historic. Thank you for your support and work. Thank you to Miami-Dade County. Thank you to Palm Beach County. Now, we're still tallying the votes, but it's clearly apparent that this election, we will have garnered a significant number of votes from people who may not have voted for me 4 years ago. And I just want to let you know, I am honored to have earned your trust and your support over these 4 years. And most important of all, thank you to the greatest First Lady in all 50 states, for being a great wife, giving unwavering support, being a tremendous mother to our 3 young children, and serving as an example for women throughout this state, especially going through the battle of cancer. She is remarkable. Now, today, today is the culmination of the 2022 fall elections, but in reality, Americans have been voting for many years now. They've been voting with their feet, and the results of that behavior has been just as stark as our landslide victory today. States and cities governed by leftist politicians have seen crime skyrocket. They've seen their taxpayers abused. They've seen medical authoritarianism imposed, and they've seen American principles discarded. The woke agenda has caused millions of Americans to leave these jurisdictions for greener pastures. Now, this great exodus of Americans, for those folks, Florida, for so many of them, has served as the promised land. We have embraced freedom. We have maintained law and order. We have protected the rights of parents. We have respected our taxpayers, and we reject woke ideology. We fight the woke in the legislature. We fight the woke in the schools. We fight the woke in the corporations. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die. People have come here because our policies work. Leadership matters. We refuse to use polls and put our finger in the wind. Leaders don't follow, they lead. We set out a vision, we executed on that vision, and we produced historic results. And the people of this state have responded in record fashion. Now, while our country flounders due to failed leadership in Washington, Florida is on the right track. I believe the survival of the American experiment requires a revival of true American principles. Florida has proved that it can be done. We offer a ray of hope that better days still lie ahead. I am proud of our achievements in this state. I am honored by your support, and I look forward to the road ahead. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race in this first term, and I have kept the faith. We've accomplished more than anybody thought possible 4 years ago, but we've got so much more to do, and I have only begun to fight. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for a historic landslide victory.
Well, that was certainly a different side of Governor Ron DeSantis we have not seen before. He won handily tonight.
Yeah.
And that confidence is really coming through. And the crowd is just, they love it. Mm-hmm. They are excited. It's electrified.
This was a test. Tonight was a test for Governor Ron DeSantis. You could hear the chants even in the crowd of his acceptance speech of two more years. Not 4 more years.
Because the governorship is 4 more years.
Right.
They're chanting 2 more years.
Even the people in the crowd are expecting him to run for president in 2 years. And this was a test nationally for people to see how well does this guy do in his own state? Can he dominate? Because he hadn't in the past. And there he just proved it and had a pretty rousing speech afterwards. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
And he knows a lot of eyes are watching him right now. Nationally, a lot of people probably carried that speech just seconds ago. They probably all carried it. So he has a national stage. He took full advantage of that. And I feel like he is entering a new realm of his governorship.
For sure. All right, let's get you some other results going here. House District 9, Congressman Darren Soto keeps his seat with 53% of the vote. This one might have been a little closer than people expected too. Scotty Moore, 47%.
And the race for Florida Attorney General, incumbent Republican Ashley Moody wins with 59% of the vote. Democratic challenger Aramis Ayala is the former state attorney for Orange and Osceola County. She got 41% of the vote.
And Commissioner of Agriculture, the position currently held by Democrat Nikki Fried, who did not run for re-election. Wilton Simpson, he was just recently president of the Florida Senate. He wins with an overwhelming win as well, 59% to 41%.
And Chief Financial Officer incumbent Republican Jimmy Patronis wins easily with 58% of the vote, beating his challenger Adam Hattersley.
Okay, so we want to check in now with our morning anchor, Justin Warmoth. He is highly caffeinated this evening, and he's breaking down the numbers for us. So what are you seeing, Justin?
Well, you heard the governor talk about some of the counties that he flipped. He mentioned Miami-Dade, which he did flip. He also mentioned Palm Beach. He flipped that. He flipped 6 others as well, and I'm going to go through those. So Dade, Palm Beach, St. Lucie County, Osceola County, Seminole, Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Duval. All of those counties he flipped from 2018 when Andrew Gillum won 13 counties, Charlie Crist only 5 counties when we look across the state of Florida. So an absolute domination. I keep watching this vote difference get larger, and I'm just waiting for this 60% to trigger something, because that is a 20% margin of victory. I think you heard in the governor's speech there that I think he was even shocked by this margin of victory. I don't think he was shocked that he won, but by this number is astounding. So let's go over some of the other races. Obviously, do we really need to at this point? Because we know what the outcome is. Statewide elections, it's red. But you heard the 2 more years, as you guys pointed out. I do have this. Okay, so here's the look at the 2020 presidential election. Donald Trump, 51, to President Biden, 48. We thought that was a big number. Seems a little small at this point. And when we look at Miami-Dade County, which again, we thought that cutting into this margin of 7% and shrinking that margin was going to be significant, and that's something that the governor was trying to replicate. But by winning by 11% of the vote in Miami-Dade County, which was 60-40 for Hillary Clinton just in 2016, is incredible. Palm Beach County, again, 56-43, President Biden, 51-48, Governor DeSantis. You can go all through the state of Florida and see these numbers shrink. Orange County, obviously a Democratic stronghold, Biden 61, Trump 38, DeSantis 46-53. So that one got to 7. Will that now continue? Will Orange County continue to be more red? We shall see. Osceola County, I can't remember the last time that they went red. It's been a while, probably since the last time I was, probably for the last 30 years since I've been alive. But here we go, 53-46. Again, these numbers are just insane. Hillsborough County, overwhelmingly, Biden over Trump, DeSantis, 9 points. Pinellas County, even Chisholm County, by 11% of the vote. Across the state, even in the counties that Charlie Crist won, the margin of victory was way too small to even put a dent into the numbers that we saw by Governor DeSantis. And again, you're going to see that replicated through all of these statewide races. But I do want to talk about this really quickly. We do have one Florida House seat that is really close currently. Susan Placencia has a slight edge over Carlos Guillermo Smith. He's a 3-term state representative who looks to be, with 93% of the estimated vote total in, could be getting ousted by Susan Placencia. That last name might sound familiar for some folks in Orange County. Her brother, Rene Placencia, of course, was a state representative for some time as well. So a red wave, certainly across the state of Florida, and it's shocking. I think the polls, they had it, could be double digits. I think we were all skeptical of that, saying, hey, we live in the state of Florida. It's still a toss-up state. It might lean red. That is not the case. That is not the case anymore. So we'll send it back to you guys for now.
It is a purple state no more.
No more.
Can safely say that. Justin Wormuth, thank you.
So we are going to continue to be with you throughout this evening and give you insight and analysis. But certainly the big talk of the night is the governor's race and just how handily Ron DeSantis beat Charlie Crist. And when Justin pointed out that Crist lost in his own home county,
by 11 points.
Yeah, I feel like that is very telling, and it says a lot. And I think a lot of places will be up in the air tonight in other states, but Florida, I think, can button it up early and call it a night.
We can call it a night,
the big races have been
for sure.
pretty much decided.
And we're going to take a quick break here on our digital section. We have to do a cut-in on our news station here in Orlando. So we're going to do that, and we'll pop right back in just a few minutes. We'll get to our local results 2022 election coverage in just a moment.
But of course, we have to start with the latest on Tropical Storm Nicole. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells with the latest. Tom.
Oh, the squalliness continues, Ginger. Take a look at the big rain coming down all the way from Daytona Beach into Deltona, Orlando, all the way down from Kissimmee, rocking into Polk County. This activity is just sort of a precursor of tomorrow and beyond. 23-mile-per-hour sustained wind in the last hour right there at Daytona Beach. 26-mile-per-hour wind already in Cocoa Beach. Those aren't gusts. Those are sustained winds all around the big circulation with Tropical Storm Nicole. Wind speed as of 7 o'clock was 65 miles per hour. I'm about 25 minutes away from a brand new update and a brand new path of projected movement. Hurricane Center has this thing progged to become a Cat 1 right there in the islands tomorrow and then make landfall late night tomorrow night into early morning hours on Thursday. By about 1 in the morning Thursday, it should be right here coming across the peninsula during the day Thursday. By Thursday, 1 p.m. should be here, then picked up by the cold front and whooshed away. Here's a close-up view of that path of projected movement. Now pay attention to this. The cone is still pretty wide. It could come all the way up here into the Cape, or it could go way far south, split the difference between the two, and ground zero for now is Fort Pierce. Again, I get a brand new update in about 25 minutes. We'll get right on with it when we get it. See you in a few. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Tom. So if you are just tuning in, one of the biggest Florida races ended early in the evening.
Yeah, Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis won re-election to a second term over Democrat Charlie Crist. DeSantis' victory bolsters his standing as a rising GOP star with potential White House ambitions. Crist conceded earlier this evening. The governor declared victory in the past 20 minutes.
Well, thank you so much. You know, over these past 4 years, we've seen major challenges for the people of our state, for the citizens of the United States, and above all, for the cause of freedom. We saw freedom in our very way of life, and so many other jurisdictions in this country wither on the vine. Florida held the line. Thank you for honoring us with a win for the ages. I want to thank all of our campaign staff, from campaign manager Janera Peck down. This was the best run campaign in the history of Florida politics.
All right, so other races tonight. The U.S. Senate Republican Marco Rubio easily won a third term in office, defeating Congresswoman and former Orlando Police Chief Val Demings.
The replacement for Val Demings' seat just made congressional history. Democrat Maxwell Frost handily won a first term in office. One of the few good storylines for Democrats tonight. That makes the 25-year-old the first Gen Z candidate elected to the U.S. House. He is representing District 10.
And of course, we are here throughout the entire evening. We will have continuing coverage for you on air and online at clickorlando.com.
Hey, glad you're back with us here on the digital side. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Ginger Gadsden. We are continuing to get numbers coming in with some key races that are already called. And of course, we'll bring you the latest live results right here on clickorlando.com, News 6 Plus, and YouTube. We have crews all across the state tonight covering all of those big and key races.
But before we get to results 2022, we have what may be a bigger story for everybody
for
tonight.
us anyway.
Tropical Storm Nicole is expected to become a hurricane before hitting Florida. Chief Meteorologist Tom Searle standing by by with the latest track on this and potential local impacts. Has that track been moving to the south a little bit?
It did a little bit today, but not a lot of bit. So I'm waiting for the new update to see if they jog it farther or if they're going to stay with what we have already. Take a look at what's going on. Squally weather's been coming in for the last couple of hours. They've got big rain falling right now. Light stuff from Daytona Beach shores just shy of Daytona Beach, but out to the water. These are all racing this way along South Atlantic Avenue, down to Ponce Inlet. Pouring rain on top of Ponce right now. Come across the interior. You see heavy scattered showers there too. All of it tied to the rotation around Nicole out there in the open water of the Atlantic. I put this into motion and you'll see the way it's been going. Go into motion, you. There we go. Coming this way in from the water at about 20 to 25 miles per hour has been the current rate of all this stuff arriving. It's all part of the big system off of our east coast. Wind speed. Now that's going to be a bigger story tomorrow, but it's already become squally as we just showed you on the rain with the radar. 23 mile per hour sustained wind right now in Daytona Beach, 14 in Sanford, 16 in Leesburg, over in Ocala, a 14 mile per hour wind. Cocoa Beach has had a 26 mile per hour wind in the last hour. That's the sustained wind, not the gust. Now, here's the 7 p.m. advisory. Wind speeds with Nicole are 65 miles per hour, gusting to 75. Pressure's at 984 millibars. If the pressure continues to drop, that wind continues to come up. My guess is that'll change a little bit by 11. Probably not going to have a hurricane on our hands at 10, but during the overnight tonight, probably will, and by tomorrow, making landfall right there in Florida as a Category 1 very dangerous hurricane. We'll be back in a little while with a little bit more. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you. We'll check back in with our Pinpoint weather team throughout the night. Until then, make sure you download that free News 6 Hurricane Tracker app. Get the latest advisories and alerts from our team. Just search WKMG in your app store.
All right, we want to get back to results 2022 and talk about the big race of the night. Of course, the race for governor. Ron DeSantis winning handily over Charlie Crist. Just moments ago, Governor DeSantis gave a victory speech. News 6 investigator Eric Sandoval is live there tonight. And Eric, what was it like being in the room? Because that speech seemed to come through the screen as an electric one.
You know, well, first, I have to say, I don't think I have ever seen so much confetti in my entire life as it rained down on everybody here inside the ballroom. And we live in the land of Disney, so that's saying something. You know, the AP called this race, Ginger, about 8 o'clock, right after the polls closed in the Panhandle. And it was just about an hour after that Ron DeSantis, flanked with Casey DeSantis and his kids, took the stage right behind me. They thanked the supporters for, supporting them not only through this election, but the last 4 years and through the trials of his first term as governor, namely with COVID-19. Let's listen to a little bit more of what he had to say to the crowd here.
We made promises to the people of Florida, and we have delivered on those promises. And so today, after 4 years, the people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay.
That freedom mantra was repeated throughout his speech here tonight. Something important to point out, he also thanked a lot of the supporters that may not have supported him 4 years ago. Miami-Dade voted for DeSantis this time around. So he actually took time to thank those voters who voted for him this time, who may not have voted for him last time. Another important thing to point out, he gave this victory speech very early in the evening. The race was called very early, but the governor has to go back to work immediately. We had that storm cranking right off the Atlantic coast with its eye on Florida. So our guess is he's flying right back to Tallahassee to get to work on making sure that all the preparations are in place ahead of Nicole making landfall. We are live at the Tampa Convention Center with the Ron DeSantis campaign tonight, celebrating a victory. Eric Sandoval getting results. News 6, back to you.
All right, Eric, thank you. Good luck with all that confetti, too.
He'll be finding that
for
days to come, I'm sure. So we have our UCF history professor and our political analyst, Jim Clark, joining us at the desk here. I'm fascinated to hear your take on all of this. So to win tonight, Ron DeSantis flipped 8 counties that were not his in the past. What issue, what was it that changed voters' minds so much? Because voters usually don't change that much in 4 years.
He's been very effective at getting his message across. As your reporting found out, he has spent millions of dollars traveling the state, finding occasions to speak virtually everywhere. It seemed like for the last 4 years he was always on the road, and it's paid off big. Combine that with the fact that the Democrats came up empty in terms of leadership. Val Demings was a fresh candidate. She ran ahead of Charlie Crist and the rest of the ticket, but she couldn't do it by herself. And Charlie Crist, kind of a retread. This is his third statewide unsuccessful election. He's run as a Republican, an independent, and a Democrat. And the Democrats just need to get some new leadership and some fresh blood.
But Jim, talk to us a little bit about how the pandemic may have also played a big role in the victory we saw in Ron DeSantis tonight, because the entire time he said, we're going to keep Florida free, right? A lot of people from other states saw that and said, I want to go to Florida. They did a good job of getting people to come to Florida, register as Republican, and vote for the guy who said, we're going to keep Florida free.
Yeah, and at the time, it seemed like a real crapshoot. Because other states were shutting down. Everybody said, oh, the governor of Florida is making a mistake. He needs to shut down. And he took a chance. And it paid off big time. And, they were pairing him off, if you'll remember, with Governor Cuomo of New York, who shut down the state. Yeah. Governor Cuomo's at home tonight. Former Governor Cuomo watching television, and Ron DeSantis is here for another 4-year term.
And Florida has seen a big population boom, and a lot of New Yorkers moved from New York to Florida.
Especially along the Gold Coast, where we're seeing tremendous Republican gains. Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he didn't just keep businesses open, he kept schools open when a lot of other states shut those down as well.
And it paid off.
It obviously did. It changed a lot of minds, at least as far as people coming here and the people who already were here and were voting against him in the past election. Can you find a glimmer of hope for the Democrats, or is this just an all-out embarrassment?
It's an all-out embarrassment. It's the worst performance since 1916, when the Prohibition candidate got elected governor.
The guy who wanted to
ban alcohol.
Ban alcohol.
You remember you voted for
it.
it.
Right,
terrible year.
I was a young man, but wow.
Yeah, and so this is just unprecedented. Back in the dark days of the Republican Party, they used to get 40%, and now it's the Democrats. And also, if you look at the other races tonight, the Senate races, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, are very, very close. And here we have the red wave, and I'm sure it's not lost on Republicans that Governor DeSantis has done better in Florida than Donald Trump did 2 years and 6 years ago.
Well, you just wrote somebody's headline for them tonight. So,
yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, I feel like, don't you think that moving forward, that, Ron DeSantis, they were chanting 2 more years. 2. That says a lot.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see former President Trump stepping up his attacks on him, trying to push him out of the race before he gets in. Obviously, he's worried that DeSantis could upset his apple cart. And so he's going to do everything he can to keep DeSantis out. And DeSantis is going to be laying awake a few nights trying to decide what to do.
Yeah, it'll be very fascinating to see in the next 2 years. Jim Clark, UCF history professor, thank you so much. So, well, let's talk about one of the wins. Jim was saying the Democrats don't have any real star power these days. Maybe this is the guy they'll look to in the future. He's 25 years old. He will officially be the first Gen Z congressman to be in Congress.
Yeah, he is replacing the seat that Val Demings vacated to run against Marco Rubio. We're talking, of course, about Maxwell Alejandro Frost winning against Republican Calvin Wimbush, and he is a glimmer of hope for the Democratic Party tonight. News 6's Jerry Askin is at Frost campaign headquarters in Orlando. Jerry.
Yeah, glimmer of hope for sure. Good evening. Right now we're at the Abbey in downtown Orlando here at the Maxwell Alejandro Frost watch party. A lot of excitement. Right now, other folks who are having their watch parties are actually addressing the crowd right now. But yes, Maxwell Alejandro Frost. Oh, he's right there at the podium. Let's take a listen.
I remember being in the state legislature as an organizer and him being one of the only friendly people who was fighting day in and day out. The first bill he filed was to ban assault weapons.
Okay, and right now he's actually speaking for Representative Carlos Smith, who's also having his watch party here tonight. We spoke with Maxwell Frost earlier today. He spoke to the crowd about an hour ago. Take a listen.
The things that we want to address as soon as we get into office, we want to ensure that we end gun violence in this country. As far as the economy is concerned, people are hurting. We got to bring down costs, bring up wages, make sure that everybody has health care as a human right in this country. The last one I'll say is protecting our democracy. Voting is a right, but not an accessible right to all people. And we got to protect that.
Yeah, again, he congratulated his opponent, Calvin Winbush. Again, other folks are also having their watch party here tonight. Now, he said that he wants to address key issues that impact many of us, like gun violence, affordable housing, civil rights, and so much more. Again, he is a 25-year-old from Orlando who said he wants to make a difference. We're live here at the Abbey in downtown Orlando. I'm Jerry Askin, getting results, News 6.
All right, Jerry, thank you.
All right, let's get you over to Mike Holfeld, our investigator. He's keeping a close watch on the balance of power. Looks fairly balanced at the moment.
What a night. What a night. When I was talking to you guys before, I said it looked like Walker's slipping. Walker's in the lead, 49.1.
Hey, Mike, flip your microphone for us. I think it might be off.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
all right,
okay.
He's going to,
Yeah.
sometimes, election
And it takes
coverage.
like 3-4
Sometimes-
seconds.
Yeah.
For it
All
to
right, so
do its thing.
I want to get you back because I know a lot of people are paying close attention to the balance of power. Mike
wanna know
Holfeld,
what's going on.
give it
Yeah.
to us.
Take two. How's that?
Let's try it again.
In the state of Georgia. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
can.
All right.
Yes.
And I still look good?
You're
okay.
I mean, you always look
That
there
never
you
went
go.
away.
Honey, I'm doing a great job. Listen, the Georgia story is big because Walker versus Warnock was the one where they said that could make a difference in gaining control of the Senate. Why is that important? Why are we talking about the balance of power? Because President Biden has an agenda. And if the Republicans control the House and the Senate, the president basically becomes a lame duck. He loses the power that he needed. In the first time, he was very effective with his policies. The second time, if this happens, if it plays out, not so much. Let's take a look at the balance of power in the Senate right now. Democrats, 39, let's call them a lock, 100 leaning. And then on the Republican side, we have 40 a lock, 81 leaning. So this ball game is not over yet on the Senate. Remember how we started this night, 50-50, with the vice president making the votes for the Democratic side each time. If the Republicans gain additional seats, 40, 39, 81 leaning Republican, 100 leaning Democrat, and this Georgia story, and the other story we're watching, of course, is Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, we could see that balance of power slightly shift. Great story? Oh, yeah, and it's not over yet. Guys, back to you.
All right,
Mike,
Holfeld,
thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
All right, so let's give you some other election results tonight. We are looking at the Brevard environmental land reform. The tax allows the county to issue bonds to buy environmentally sensitive land, and 70% said yes.
We've got a charter amendment proposal 3 on the Brevard County ballot. It would add school board members to the list of county officers who can be recalled. That one passed pretty resoundingly. 79% said yes.
And the Brevard County ad valorem millage property tax would go toward teacher and staff raises and help improve classroom technology. And that is 58% yes.
Let's get you that race for Florida Attorney General. Incumbent Republican Ashley Moody beats Democratic challenger Aramis Ayala. Ayala, you'll remember her, the former state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties. She put out this statement just moments ago saying, quote, "While tonight's outcome is not what many of us had hoped for, I remain deeply proud of the campaign we were able to wage. Despite great odds and limited resources, we were able to build a small but mighty people-powered coalition led by grassroots organizations that reach thousands of Floridians across the state."
All right, time now for a check of some more analysis with our morning anchor, Justin Wormuth, with a voter breakdown across the state. Justin.
Well, you guys were just talking about the Attorney General race with Ashley Moody and Aramis Ayala. I want to take you closer into where Aramis Ayala represented when she was the state attorney for Orange Osceola County. In Orange County, she only won by a small margin of 4%. Of course, keep that in mind that Orange County is a Democratic stronghold, or traditionally is a Democratic stronghold, and she lost Osceola County. When you combine the two, it was neck and neck, 50-50. We'll see what happens there. But when you look across the state, it was it really is just. I know we've been talking about it, but to see the results live and to see some of the counties that flipped. Now, Governor DeSantis did flip Palm Beach, but Val Demings won Palm Beach County, and it was close. 529 vote difference, that might change as we watch these results come in. But Governor DeSantis certainly doing better than Marco Rubio in that county. Even Broward County, to see a Democrat not have more than 60% of the vote, you can see Charlie Crist at 58%. For perspective, President Biden 65%. I think that's so important as we talk about, you hear the 2 more years chant, and to see Governor DeSantis compared to former President Trump is certainly staggering. Hillsborough County is something that we haven't necessarily been talking about, but I mean, look at this, 53 to 46. 9% is the change in Hillsborough County with Governor DeSantis doing quite well. And I want to talk about Volusia County as well, 64 to 35. Volusia County was a county that voted for President Obama twice. And to see 64 to 35, now of course it was trending in that direction, but you see what's happening in Volusia County. Seminole County did not vote for Governor DeSantis in 2018. They decided to vote for Governor DeSantis in 2022. And you see overwhelmingly vote for Governor DeSantis at 56 to 43. This is also a county that President Biden won. President Biden won the I-4 corridor, but lost the state of Florida. Osceola County, another county that 13% difference. Now, Governor DeSantis with a 7% change and has that margin of victory in Osceola County. Alachua County, home to the University of Florida, still those Democratic strongholds that Democrats need to win the state of Florida have shrunk, and some of them have flipped. That is a recipe for, when you look at the totals, I'm just waiting for this. This is getting so close to turning to 60%, as we saw with Ashley Moody, and that is something that I'm sure the governor will talk about as the days move on. Of course, we have to get through a tropical storm, but as everything starts to play out over the next 2 years, winning the state of Florida by 20% is something that I no doubt believe will certainly be out there. And if he decides to run for president, obviously it's hush-hush at this point, but I think we can all see that it's trending in that direction, and tonight's results certainly put him into that category of running for president next election cycle. Something we'll watch, and we'll also watch Palm Beach County, where, of course, the former president resides. They voted for Governor DeSantis, and I do want to check. Yes, 13% in where President Trump currently resides in Mar-a-Lago, 56 to 43 in 2020. Governor DeSantis carries Palm Beach County. It's wild stuff.
Is it really hush-hush, Justin?
It's not hush. It's the worst
chanting it.
It is the worst kept secret. It is the worst kept secret. But if you ask the governor, what does he do?
Not going to address it.
When you ask the governor, Charlie Crist in the debate asked him a few times.
Oh yeah, he would not commit.
And he did not commit. So
Justin,
it's a loud hush.
It's a loud hush.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. All right, we're going to check in with some more results in election 2022. Florida voters also deciding on 3 constitutional amendments. Amendment 1 would allow the legislature to pass changes so people don't see their property taxes go up if they make flood improvements to their homes. And of course, 57% said yes to that, and I think amendments need 60% to move forward.
You got it. So Amendment 2 would repeal the Florida Constitution Revision Commission. The panel meets every 20 years, so you probably don't think about it very much, but it has the power to propose ballot measures. A lot of people probably didn't even look into this much. 54% said yes. 46% said no. Again, like Ginger said, it did not meet that 60% threshold.
Yeah. Amendment 3 would add extra property tax breaks, but only for people in certain professions like teaching and law enforcement. And this one just came in under a skosh at 59% of voters saying yes, but still, that's a no-go.
Yeah,
60%.
could have saved some folks some money, but the voters voted against it.
Including me.
Jim, well, he's not saying he voted against it. He's saying it would affect him.
It would affect me.
Yes,
yeah,
because he is an educator. So what did you take away from the amendments? These any of these interest you?
You know, a number of years ago, Florida passed a constitutional amendment to protect hogs. And
you said hogs.
Hogs,
okay.
pigs, hogs.
Yeah.
And it's in our Constitution, the Hog Protection Amendment. And the legislature said, wait a minute, we're getting too many of these amendments. And so they raised it from 50 to 60%. And since then, it's been extremely difficult to get 60% of the people to agree to anything. They did agree on felons getting the vote and some other things,
restoring the rights.
but it is extremely difficult to get to that 60%.
Marijuana was another one.
Yeah. So, you know, these had a tough way to go. And as you see, one got 59%, but still not enough.
Close, but not enough. Yeah, and it is amazing that we remember the couple that did because it happens so infrequently. So, okay, Jim, hogs.
Hogs are protected
not Harley
in the
Owners
state.
Group, but you know we're thinking about the bike riders, but not them. Not
All right,
them.
pigs. All right, Jim Clark.
Thank you.
You always mesmerize me with some sort of piece of information. Thank you, my friend.
Thank
Appreciate
you, sir.
And we will be right back.
We'll get to our local results 2022 election coverage in just a moment.
Yeah, but we have been waiting for a brand new projected path for Tropical Storm Nicole heading right for Florida. So let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells. Tom, is that new path in yet?
Nope. Take a look over my shoulder here. 7 p.m. advisory. I keep looking, waiting, keep going. Come on, update. Nah, it's going to wait till the top of the hour. Anyway, 7 p.m. advisory is the last thing we have. We're just moments away from getting the new one. Wind speeds of 65 miles per hour, gusting to 75. Pressure's 984 millibars. If I push the button, maybe it'll pop in. No, it did not. Okay, so next advisory still comes out in about 5 minutes. Latest track we have brings it in as a Category 1 storm over here on the south side, way south of Brevard County. It's a Category 1 storm by about 1 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. So what's that, 24? About 27 hours from now. Should be on land as a Category 1 storm. Still no update to the track, so we'll move along. Just go ahead and tell you that the wind speeds right now are pretty intense, even though the storm is a long way from us. This path to projected, there we go, wait a second, it just updated, did it? No, did not, okay. So the path of projected movement remains the same for now. Wind speeds have kicked up to about 20 miles per hour in the last 2 hours or so in all the squally weather. These squalls keep coming right on in. You see the heavy rain about to approach you right now south of Daytona Beach and Ponce Inlet all the way down the strip. And here are the wind speeds as we have them for the moment. A 26 mile per hour wind currently in Cocoa Beach. Back to you guys.
All right, Tom, thank you. In results 2022, Florida voters are handing victory after victory to the Republican Party.
Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis won re-election to a second term over Democrat Charlie Crist. So in the race for Attorney General, incumbent Republican Ashley Moody defeating Democratic challenger Aramis Ayala by nearly a 20-point margin. Ayala, of course, is the former state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties.
Now, a short time ago, Ayala tweeted out a lengthy concession saying in part, quote, "While tonight's outcome is not what many of us had hoped for, I remain deeply proud of the campaign. We must work until change finally comes to Florida." We've posted the full statement on clickorlando.com. In the U.S. Senate, Republican Marco Rubio easily won a third term in office, defeating Congresswoman and former Orlando Police Chief Val Demings with 58% of the vote.
Yeah, and a setback, though, for Demings' husband, Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings. Voters handily rejected a 1-cent sales tax for transportation. You can see there it was voted no, 58%. Demings argued it was essential for straightening out our roads and boosting railways.
Orange County voters gave enthusiastic support for a rent stabilization ordinance, with 98% reporting it was winning 59 to 41%, but those results won't count. An appeals court ruled the measure was not valid and should not have been on the ballot in the first place.
And that was really something that a lot of people were upset by because of early voting, and they learned of it after they had already voted and mailed in their ballots and early voted. So it
couldn't
didn't
unring
count.
the bell.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back in just about another 25 minutes. UC app or whatever.
Hey, glad you're with us on whatever digital platform you are joining us. I am Matt Austin.
And I am Lisa Bell. As the numbers come in results 2022 and the key races are called, we will bring you the results live right here on clickorlando.com, News 6 Plus, and YouTube. Our crews are across the state tonight, covering all the big races for you and getting all the reaction for you.
So before we get to results 2022, there's another huge story tonight. Tropical Storm Nicole is expected to become a hurricane before hitting Florida. It's headed right for Florida. Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrell standing by with the latest track, potential impacts. Did that new track come in, Tom?
It did indeed. Finally got it. So look, wind speeds up to 70 miles per hour. We're that close to being a Category 1 hurricane. I didn't think we'd be there by 10 o'clock tonight, but I think by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, we're going to be calling this Hurricane Nicole. Gusts are up to 85 miles per hour, pressure's 984 millibars. This path takes it right through the islands here, still coming toward landfall by tomorrow, late night tomorrow night into tomorrow morning, with wind speeds of better than 75 to 80 miles per hour. This track has not changed a lot. Still has the top part of the cone right in there on top of the Cape. It still has it drilling into Fort Pierce. So the Hurricane Center did not change that. The modeling hasn't jogged much at all in the last 6 to 12 hours, so they're going to stick with their path to projected movement. Wind speeds of 65 miles per hour by 7 a.m. Thursday morning, right on top of the southern side of Osceola County. Keep in mind that tropical storm force winds, guys, extend out about 350 to 380 miles from the center. So it's going to be a big wind package. We're not getting out of this at all, even though it looks like the eye will probably make landfall just south of our viewing area. For example, the hurricane not being a point, tonight we're already getting big rain. Look, from Sanford to Deltona right now to Orange City, Deltona, DeLand, all the way up to this zone to Port Orange, Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna, all getting drenched tonight by the onshore flow, producing the big squally weather coming into central Florida. And these winds, 22 mile per hour wind right now, Palm Coast, 25 in Cocoa Beach. And from here, they only get higher. Standing by now with more effects is meteorologist Samara Kakinos. Hey, Samara.
Hey there, Tom. And as we take a look, all of Central Florida under some watch or warning tonight. In the red, though, that's where we're going to begin. That is Brevard County going into coastal Volusia under a hurricane warning until further notice. A little bit to the north, we're talking about the coastline of Flagler County under a hurricane watch. Then as you move inland, you'll notice all these areas in the purple here. That's a tropical storm warning. And then getting closer to the Gulf Coast, that's where we're under the tropical storm watch. Now, we are anticipating the arrival of tropical storm wind gusts as early as 8 o'clock tomorrow morning along our coastline. We're talking about Brevard County feeling it first and then it making its way inland throughout the day. Notice by 2 o'clock in and around the metro, we'll start to feel those tropical storm wind gusts. And then by 8 o'clock, closer to Marion and Sumter counties, we'll start to feel the impacts from those stronger wind gusts. In terms of rain, though, this is what we're looking at, folks. Across our inland zones in the green, Marion, most of Lake, as well as Sumter County, expected to receive about 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, but we could see isolated maximums up near 4 to 4.5 inches. It's quite possible, but all the areas to the east of that, we're talking about near the I-4 corridor and areas to the east, could see anywhere between 4 to 6 inches of rainfall, possibly even seeing some pockets of heavier rain exceeding those totals. Now, this means, we have some big time impacts in and around our coast. We'll break those down for you. Plus, we'll have a look at how that's going to impact the St. Johns River coming up in just a bit. Guys, back to you.
All right, Samara Kakinos, thank you. Hurricane warnings are in effect along the coast.
News 6's Treasure Roberts is following the preparations for us tonight in Flagler County.
The winds are picking up and the waves are high. That's an early sign of bad weather on the way. Flagler Beach City Manager William Whitson says over the next couple of days, waves can get up to 15 feet high. He says this isn't a time to sightsee or go out to surf. It's dangerous.
After the winds reach over 45 miles an hour, we will not send public safety vehicles, police and fire out into make rescues. If they choose to stay, they need to make sure that they have adequate protection and that they're okay, and we're not going to come out when the conditions are dangerous.
If the winds get really bad, the city manager says first responders won't be able to help you until it dies down. So now is the time to make the best decision for your family. In Flagler Beach, Treasure Roberts getting results, News 6.
And News 6's James Sparvero is in Brevard County, where leaders are recommending people evacuate.
With sandbag distribution for just 1 day ahead of Nicole, Brevard County now shifts its focus on the rough waters of the Atlantic. A strong storm surge and potentially 4 or 8 inches of rain could be coming. The Brevard Sheriff's Office, with its inmates from the county jail across the street,
You're all good, sir. Have a great day.
giving away free sandbags at Camp Road in Sharps and Wickham Park in Melbourne. Can you tell me why you wanted to get sandbags?
Make sure we don't flood.
Just 6 weeks after Hurricane Ian flooded some communities, flooding is one of the top concerns, with Nicole threatening to make landfall on the central Florida coast.
Our biggest fear is that no one takes this storm seriously. We want you to understand that this storm is going to be impacting us with winds, with surf.
Sheriff Wayne Ivey saying leaving ahead of Nicole's potential landfall is advised for people living on the barrier island or in any low-lying or flood-prone neighborhoods, or for those who live in mobile homes. Evacuations are not mandatory.
Look at your scenario and determine if you want to evacuate. We know that our citizens are going to make the right choices for themselves and their families and their pets.
And Wednesday morning is when the county says it will provide its next Facebook Live update ahead of the storm. In Cape Canaveral, Brevard County, I'm James Sparvero, getting results, News 6.
Now in Volusia County, where we have News 6's Molly Reed.
Volusia Sheriff Mike Chitwood issuing a curfew and mandatory evacuation order starting tomorrow. The focus really being on beachside residents and oceanfront properties.
It was taken after consulting with engineers, with our cities up on the peninsula. There are buildings that are in imminent risk of collapsing.
The county says there's about 24 buildings along the coast at high risk. Their seawalls washed away during Hurricane Ian, and many property owners didn't have time to put up temporary ones. Daytona Beach Shores has about a dozen of those buildings.
Be some that the seawall looks okay. We don't know below that what is happening, and that's why we're concerned for every single one of the condos and hotels.
Starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, all Volusia residents east of the river will be under a mandatory evacuation order. There will also be a curfew starting at 7 p.m. tomorrow, closing the causeways to all eastbound traffic regardless of wind speeds.
Once that curfew goes into effect, we're not allowing any gawkers up there so they can go on the beach and take pictures, and they're not doing that. It's going to be a complete lockdown.
Now again, the sheriff says only beachside residents will be allowed over the causeway. They have to show proof of residency. Also under that mandatory evacuation order are going to be mobile homes east of 95 and anyone in a flood-prone area. In Daytona Beach, Volusia County, I'm Molly Reed getting results, News 6.
Molly, thank you. All school districts are making changes ahead of Tropical Storm Nicole. Seminole, Volusia, and Brevard County school districts will be closed on Wednesday through Friday. Orange, Lake, Flagler, Sumter, and Osceola County schools will be closed on Thursday and Friday. Marion County will be closed on Thursday with hopes of reopening on Friday. Many other districts are already off on Friday due to Veterans Day. UCF is also closing on Wednesday and Thursday. The storm is also closing some airports. Orlando International and Orlando Sanford International Airport will both cease operations tomorrow afternoon at 4. The Melbourne Orlando International Airport will close at 2 tomorrow afternoon. All airports say they are monitoring conditions and urge travelers to check with your airline about any changes. And you can find shelter information along with where to pick up sandbags at clickorlando.com. Search for the stories on the homepage.
And to make sure to download our free News 6 Hurricane Tracker app, you'll get the latest advisories and alerts from our team. I check this thing so much in this current situation. It's really good. Just search WKMG in your app store. And when you click on it, you just click on Nicole at the top. All right, back to results 2022. Governor Ron DeSantis winning re-election. Just moments ago, Governor DeSantis gave his victory speech.
Now, it's a lot easier to run a good campaign when you got a great record to run on. And I would not have been able to see the level of accomplishments that we saw unless I had outstanding personnel working in the executive office of the governor, as well as heading state agencies. These folks worked hard to implement our agenda. They believed in our agenda, and the results have been historic. Thank you for your support and work.
Now, before Governor DeSantis declared victory, challenger Charlie Crist gave his concession speech. News 6's Eric Von Enken was there.
Charlie Crist was humble tonight and gracious as soon as it became clear that the deficit that Governor Ron DeSantis had over him, he didn't drag this out. Right around 8:30, he came out here. He spoke. He kept it short, and he congratulated Governor Ron DeSantis.
Governor DeSantis, to you and your family, I wish you only the best, and I wish the best to my fellow Floridians, because I love this state. I love her with all my heart. And you're great, good, decent, kind people, and you deserve nothing better than the very best that God has to offer.
So what is next now for Charlie Crist, now that he has been, remember, governor and attorney general and congressman, which, remember, he resigned from after defeating Nikki Fried in the primary? I asked him that very question this morning when we talked very early. What happens if he didn't win tonight? All he would tell me was he was sure he would win, against all odds. In St. Petersburg tonight, Eric Von Aggen getting results. News 6.
Now to the race for that U.S. Senate seat. Incumbent Senator Marco Rubio beating his challenger, Representative Val Demings, handedly. 58% of the vote to Marco Rubio. News 6's Lauren Cervantes is there.
Senator Marco Rubio will serve a third term after the race was called for him. He spoke to a cheering crowd of hundreds for about 30 minutes alongside his wife and children. Now, Senator Rubio started out by thanking his team, calling it a tough campaign, but saying politics isn't that complicated. He said Americans want to be able to have a job that pays well, they want to live in a home that they own, and in a neighborhood that's safe. He says all issues he and his Republican colleagues are fighting for. Rubio saying after election night, the Republican Party will never be the same. Take a listen.
The most important house in America is not the White House, it's your house. Because that's where children are raised and values are formed and principles are instilled. And our job is to make sure we always protect the family.
Senator Rubio mentioning at the end of his speech that he hopes to see a Republican majority in the U.S. Senate after this election. For now in Miami, I'm Lauren Cervantes getting results, News 6.
And just before Senator Rubio spoke, Democrat Val Demings conceded. Here's what she had to say.
As you all know, things did not quite turn out the way we had hoped. But that's all right. That's all right. I have spoken with Senator Rubio, and I congratulated him and said to him that Florida is our home state. And please continue to work hard for the place we call home.
Races could impact not only Florida, but shift the balance of power at our nation's capital.
News 6 investigator Mike Holfeld joins us now in studio with a look at the national picture for us now, Mike.
It's all about the numbers, votes, what's at stake, what President Biden will be able to do over the next 2 years. It all comes down to this, the balance of power. Now, these numbers, I have to tell you, folks, it just doesn't add up, because I'm looking at the U.S. Senate, so I want the AP and our people in the studio to take a look at this. Democrat 39, but it says leaning 110. Based on my social studies, there aren't that many players in the Senate. That aside, there are some key races in the U.S. Senate that we're looking at tonight. Pennsylvania with Dr. Mehmet Oz. It's very close. And as you know, I've been clutching my phone here looking in Georgia, because this is another one that could push it towards the Republican side in the Senate. Herschel Walker, believe it or not, and we were talking about this before, 49.3, 48.8. That's how close it is. So this balance of power literally is like a seesaw. On the House, we believe that the Republicans will have control. In the Senate, it's just too close to call. But these two races we're talking about, Pennsylvania with Dr. Oz, Georgia with Herschel Walker, indicate that the Republicans may have the edge. But this ain't over yet. As Yogi Berra said, it ain't over till it's over. Guys?
Mike, was that Warnock is ahead or Walker's ahead?
No, it's Walker, 49.3 to 48.8. So that was a change that
shifted.
It was going back and forth like a seesaw, and now Walker is ahead, so it's a close one.
All right, Mike Holfeld, thank you.
Sure.
U.S. House District 3, which covers parts of Marion County. In that race, we have incumbent Kat Cammack running. She will keep her seat, defeating Democratic challenger Danielle Hawk.
U.S. House District 6, which was shaped this year and now includes parts of Lake and Marion, along with Volusia and Flagler counties. Congressman Mike Waltz will keep his seat, beating a Libertarian Party candidate named Joe Hanoush.
Voters in Brevard and Orange counties in U.S. House District 8, incumbent Bill Posey got 65% of their vote, winning against Democrat Joanne Terry.
Congressman Darren Soto has been reelected, defeating Republican Scotty Moore in U.S. House District 9. That covers parts of Orange, Osceola, and Polk.
And it was a hot race in the primary. We're talking about U.S. House District 11. That covers parts of Orange, Lake, Polk, and Sumter counties. Incumbent Daniel Webster wins against Democrat Shantae Munns.
All right, for a closer look at those numbers, we want to get you to Justin Wormuth, who is over at the big board. Justin, what's going on?
I'm trying to find something here, Matt. I'm trying to find something that I can talk about. Obviously at this point at the game, we know that Republicans have dominated in the statewide races. We know that they picked up a few congressional seats as well. But I want to take you into Central Florida in particular and talk about some of the counties and how the counties voted. Let's start with Orange County, a Democratic stronghold, perhaps Central Florida's largest Democratic stronghold. You saw Governor DeSantis. This is one of 5 counties that Charlie Crist won tonight, but it's by such a small margin. Historically speaking, generally it looks like this, 61-38. That's about average when we look at the 2020 presidential election and see how Joe Biden did in Orange County. But Seminole County, that's also a county that President Biden won. Tonight, Governor DeSantis won by 13%. Volusia County, it's gone Republican several election cycles in a row. It continues to go Republican. Flagler County, 67-33. Marion County, 69-30. Sumter County, the Villages, 73-27. Osceola County, a county that flipped this year, one of the counties that Governor DeSantis flipped, one of 8, 53-46. You look in 2020, 56-43, President Biden won. And then, of course, Brevard County, another Republican stronghold county here in Central Florida. So when we look at Central Florida as a whole, we went from 3 of our counties voting Democrat in 2020 and in 2018 to now down to 1. And in that 1, it is down to single digits. So that's what I'm looking at. And it's also, I think it's worth looking at to see how former Congressman Val Demings did in Orange County, her home county, 55-44. Did she do better than Charlie Crist? She did. So she did better in her home county of Orange, but it still was not enough when you look at the absolute drumming when you across the board in our other counties following suit with Governor DeSantis. So yes, she did better. It was not enough, especially here in Central Florida. So I'm trying to find something to talk about other than the widespread margin of victory here for the Republicans. It is worth noting that Jeb Bush in 2002, I know we've been talking about this, but he won by 12.8%. That was the largest margin of victory in modern history in the state of Florida. And tonight, let's get you a look at where it stands currently right now. Let's zoom out. Totals 59-40, 19%, and that is about to tick up to 60%. I'm watching these numbers come in. Right now, it's about 59.5. Once that goes to 59.6, 60%. Back to you guys.
All right, Justin Wormuth, thank you. We do want to bring in our political expert, Jim Clark, now from UCF. So good to see you. You know, we
Always
love
good
to chat with you. Justin was just saying, I don't know, what we can really chat about. I think tomorrow or in the days to come, one of the things that a lot of pundits will be discussing is that a lot of these races at the end of the day will not be that close. I don't think that they will. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But that's my bold prediction, yes.
For 10 years now, we have sat here on election nights, and you have talked about how the polls are always wrong.
They're very wrong.
But
Florida
this time
is a prime example. I mean, on the national stage, a lot of people were actually saying that the Senate race in Florida would be close. And I think a lot of people predicted it would be closer than it turned out to be. I think people who actually live in Florida didn't necessarily believe that. But I think we definitely heard that from a lot of national pundits.
Yeah, this time the pollsters underestimated the strength of the Republicans. They had DeSantis ahead by 12, and they had Rubio ahead by 8.
And I think that, pollsters are a little gun shy. I think that And we see this
Not
every
gun
year.
shy enough, apparently.
No, no, in the sense that they call them close, and I don't know why it comes to that. I don't know if they're not getting the right people, they're not getting enough responses, but it seems like year after year we go into an election cycle and it starts out, oh, this party's going to run away with it. Nope, this party's coming back. Oh, at the last minute, it's a dead heat. And I don't think that in a few days, many of these races will be that close after all. That's my point.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Right now, Georgia is very close. It looks like there may be a runoff. Pennsylvania, the Democrats ahead. Wisconsin, the Democrats ahead. What is striking to me is that only in Florida are we seeing this massive red wave that everybody kept talking about.
There doesn't seem to be a wave, a tsunami on either side of the aisle tonight, so far.
Except for in Florida,
right.
which is going to be attributed to Governor Ron DeSantis, which is very good for his political ambitions. Jim Clark
is going to get the credit.
He is.
You're absolutely
He
right.
absolutely is. Jim Clark, we appreciate you, as usual. We're going to take a quick pause here on the digital platforms. We're going to go do a cut-in on television. We hope you'll stick with us. We'll be back in just a few. We'll get to our local results 2022 election coverage in a moment, but we have to start with Tropical Storm Nicole.
The National Hurricane Center just released its new projected path for the storm that's taking aim at Florida's Atlantic coast. So we want to get right over to Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells with the latest on that path. Tom?
Yeah, come take a look at the track right now. The wind speeds are up to 70 miles per hour. It is this close to being Hurricane Nicole. Gust up to 85. Pressure has dropped to 984 millibars. The track did not change much as of the 10 o'clock advisory. So watch this thing go through the islands tonight as a Category 1 storm by tomorrow. And then tomorrow, 7 p.m., it's here approaching landfall. That means wicked wind is going to be all over our coastal zones early in the day tomorrow. And then it makes its landfall about 1 in the morning. Tomorrow morning, comes across the state over to the Gulf, gets picked up by the cold front and whisked away. Here's a close-up shot of the track. Now notice the cone is still pretty wide. It is for him being on land in another day or so. Could come all the way to the north up around the Cape, could go south of Lake Okeechobee, but this direct line in the middle has not moved hardly an iota since the last update earlier this afternoon. In the meantime, we're getting lashed with all kinds of squally weather coming in from the coast. These scattered showers you're seeing here are squalls coming in, blasting us at about 25 to 30 miles per hour, trucking right on through the viewing area. Look, it's not just us, it's all the folks down south as well, from Boca to Jupiter to West Palm Beach, all getting in on the action. So there you go, guys. There's your 10 o'clock advisory and your track. I'll have another update coming up at the top of the newscast at 11.
Okay, Tom, thank you. In results 2022, Florida voters are handing victory after victory to the Republican Party.
It starts at the top of the ticket. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis easily won re-election to a second term over Democrat and former Republican Governor Charlie Crist.
In the U.S. Senate, Republican Marco Rubio easily won a third term in office, defeating Congresswoman and former Orlando Police Chief Val Demings. Senator Rubio declared tonight's vote a turning point for Florida.
You find people in the state from everywhere. You find people in the state from every background. And they have joined this incredible new movement that isn't just going to change the country, it's going to change the Republican Party. After tonight, the Republican Party will never be the same, and that's a great thing for America and a great thing for Republicans.
Now, voters in Brevard and Orange counties re-elected Republican incumbent Congressman Bill Posey. He got 65% of the vote, winning against Democrat Joanne Terry for House District 8.
However, incumbent Democratic Congressman Darren Soto defeated Republican Scotty Moore for a fourth term. He represents U.S. House District 9, which covers Orange, Osceola, and Polk counties.
And incumbent Republican Daniel Webster also won re-election against Democrat Shantae Munns. He represents U.S. House District 11. That covers parts of Orange, Lake, Polk, and Sumter counties. He won with 63% of the vote. Shantae Munns could only get 35%.
You can find continuing coverage of results 2022 on clickorlando.com, and we'll be back for News 6 at 11.
Hey, glad you're with us on the digital platforms here. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. As the numbers come in and key races are called, we will bring you the results live right here on clickorlando.com, News 6 Plus, and YouTube. Our crews are across the state tonight covering all the big races for you.
All right, before we get to results 2022, there's another big story out there. Tropical storm Nicole, it's expected to become a hurricane before hitting Florida. Chief meteorologist Tom Sorrell standing by with that latest track and potential local impacts.
Oh, yeah, Matt, it's going to be a hurricane and soon. It's got wind speeds of 70 miles per hour right now. For that reason, our coastal zones from the Flagler, Volusia County line to the north all the way down through all of Brevard County are under a hurricane warning now till further notice. They'll back this thing down probably late Thursday, but for now the hurricane warning is up. Tropical storm warnings across the interior. Here's that 10 p.m. advisory. Wind speeds are up to 70 miles per hour now, so it's so close to becoming a Category 1 hurricane. Wind gusts are 85, pressure's hanging in there at 984 millibars. Movement is to the west-southwest at 10 miles per hour. On this path, the projected movement, which really did not change with the last advisory. The advisory we picked up this afternoon at what was that, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4, didn't change between 4 and 10 o'clock this evening. It's still coming this way through the islands, making landfall there, and the cone didn't really shrink much either. Normally, the closer it gets, we tighten that cone up a lot. But there's not good model agreement totally there. It's not abraded. Look, a bunch of models I'll show you in a moment. Here's a close-up view of that track. So tomorrow night, midnight to about 1 in the morning on Thursday, should be making landfall right here around Fort Pierce. They're coming through our southern zones as a tropical storm over to the edge of the Gulf, then picked up by that cold front and whisked away. That's going to mean all kinds of impacts for Central Florida, starting with tonight. We have these squalls coming in already from Deltona to DeLand to Daytona Beach, Ponce Inlet, Edgewater, all getting soaked by passing squally weather that keeps coming in from the east. It's all tied to the big rotation around what will eventually be Hurricane Nicole. Right now, you see the winds are upwards of somewhere between 20 and 25 miles per hour on the coast, 25 mile per hour wind right now at Cocoa Beach, 21 Palm Coast, 20 Daytona Beach, and a 15 mile per hour wind for the moment in Orlando. On the coast, a 33 mile per hour gust was just recorded in Cocoa Beach. Wind intensity and timeline. Okay, these blustery conditions are going to overrun the coast for sure by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then the winds take over throughout the entire day, the entire viewing area tomorrow afternoon. The actual tropical storm force winds probably edge in a little closer to Melbourne by about 1 in the morning. You see the hurricane force winds diminish as the system comes through, with wind speeds over here in southern Lake County by Thursday morning down to about 60 or 65 miles per hour. Standing by now with more on what we can expect is meteorologist Samara Kokino.
And I wanted to break down the impacts county by county. We'll start with the coastal areas, Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard County. You'll notice that we have wind speeds anywhere between about 50 and 75 miles per hour. The rainfall estimates could range between about 4 to 6 inches, with isolated maximums exceeding that. So just keep that in mind. There will be some flooding out there to contend with. A brief tornado can't be ruled out, and we will have the storm surge in addition to astronomical high tides adding to that coastal flooding, as well as the really, really bad beach erosion that is going to occur because we've already had it basically beaten down by Hurricane Ian just a little over a month ago. If we can take this full screen so we can get a better view of exactly what we're looking at here, Orange and Seminole County, Wednesday to Thursday. There we go. Winds between 55 and 75 miles per hour. The rainfall estimates between 3 to 4 inches, with that flooding definitely a concern as we head into Orange and Seminole County. A threat for a tornado, we can't completely rule it out, but it is fairly low. Same thing for Osceola County. Really not that much of a difference between Osceola and Polk County. However, again, we will deal with the flooding in those lower lying areas, and an isolated tornado can't be ruled out as well. Lake and Sumter County, here we go. We break it down for you. 50 to 75 mile per hour winds, with rainfall totals anywhere between about 2 to 3 inches, but we could see isolated maximums up to 4, maybe even 4.5 inches, adding to the flooding concern there, and an isolated tornado can't be ruled out there. Again, this is Wednesday into Thursday for Marion County. 50 to 75 mile per hour winds are expected, with rainfall totals between about 1 to 3 inches. That will lead to some minor to moderate flooding, and keep in mind we can't rule out a tornado there as well. We'll be back with more impacts coming up in just a bit. Guys, back to you.
All right, Samara, thank you. And make sure to download our free News 6 Hurricane Tracker app. Get the latest advisories and alerts from our team. Just search WKMG in your app store.
Back to results 2022. Governor Ron DeSantis winning re-election today. Just moments ago, Governor DeSantis gave his victory speech.
We made promises to the people of Florida, and we have delivered on those promises. And so today, after 4 years, the people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay.
So before Governor DeSantis declared victory, his challenger, Charlie Crist, gave a concession speech. News 6's Eric Von Enken was there.
Charlie Crist was humble tonight and gracious as soon as it became clear that the deficit that Governor Ron DeSantis had over him, he didn't drag this out. Right around 8:30, he came out here. He spoke. He kept it short, and he congratulated Governor Ron DeSantis.
Governor DeSantis, to you and your family, I wish you only the best. And I wish the best to my fellow Floridians, because I love this state. I love her with all my heart. And you're great, good, decent, kind people, and you deserve nothing better than the very best that God has to offer.
So what is next now for Charlie Crist, now that he has been, remember, governor and attorney general and congressman, which, remember, he resigned from after defeating Nikki Fried in the primary? I asked him that very question this morning when we talked very early. What happens if he didn't win tonight? All he would tell me was he was sure he would win against all odds. In St. Petersburg tonight, Eric Von Enken getting results. News 6.
Well, maybe not against all odds. The race for the U.S. Senate seat, incumbent Senator Marco Rubio beating his challenger, Representative Val Demings. News 6's Lauren Cervantes is there.
Senator Marco Rubio will serve a third term after the race was called for him. He spoke to a cheering crowd of hundreds for about 30 minutes alongside his wife and children. Now, Senator Rubio started out by thanking his team, calling it a tough campaign, but saying politics isn't that complicated. He said Americans want to be able to have a job that pays well, they want to live in a home that they own, and in a neighborhood that's safe. He says all issues he and his Republican colleagues are fighting for. Rubio saying after election night, the Republican Party will never be the same. Take a listen.
The most important house in America is not the White House, it's your house. Because that's where children are raised and values are formed and principles are instilled. And our job is to make sure we always protect the family.
Senator Rubio mentioning at the end of his speech that he hopes to see a Republican majority in the U.S. Senate after this election. For now in Miami, I'm Lauren Cervantes, getting results, News 6.
And just before Senator Rubio spoke, Democrat Val Demings conceded. Here's what she had to say.
You all know me, and I stand by the decision of the people. We are a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. I know that we had gathered here tonight for a different result, with a different result in mind. But I want to speak for just a moment about our democracy and where we are in our nation. You see, our democracy, it still matters. Am I right about that?
So we are not used to seeing Val Demings or anybody in the Demings family giving concession speeches. There she is. I'm curious as to what you think her future sees after this moment tonight, because she was one of the Democratic stars coming into this.
Yeah, she was one of the leaders in President Trump's first impeachment. She was on Joe Biden's short list for vice president. She's 65 years old, and I'm not sure there are many avenues open to her in terms of running for office. There's a new congressman in her district who's 25, and I don't see him going anywhere for a while. So I think this might be the end of a very illustrious career.
It is interesting, and it would be curious to hear more from her, because had she run for her House seat, she probably would have been reelected and would have been headed back to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But on the other hand, as I pointed out, she's 65 years old. She had only been in Congress 3 terms, so she wasn't going to make the leadership. It would have taken another 10 or 20 years to get there. And so she took a chance on running for the Senate and raised more money than Marco Rubio. And so I think she established herself as a national figure. It would not surprise me to see her get an appointment in the Biden administration.
Speaking of the Senate, there are some real battles going on across the country tonight. Some close races, and Florida Senator Rick Scott has been a big cheerleader for the Republican Party. He was in charge of the re-election efforts for the Republican senators.
Yeah, the Republicans in the Senate put him in charge, and so he's kind of the Republican who's not on the ballot, but who has played a vital role here. And if the Republicans take the Senate, he's going to be the hero. He'll get all the applause. If, however, they don't take the Senate, he's going to get all of the blame. And you pointed this out, Lisa, he and Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, have been butting heads now for about, 3 months?
At least.
At least.
Yeah,
and so I think he would, as Lisa has talked about, he'd like to be majority leader of the Senate. Take that away from Mitch McConnell. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight. But again, it's 10:30 at night, and we still have no idea who's going to control the Senate.
All right. Well, it's going to be an interesting evening going into the morning, and who knows, maybe a couple of days to figure that out. Jim Clark, UCF history professor and our News 6 political analyst. We are going to end our digital coverage now, but we are going to continue this at 11 o'clock on News 6, and we hope to see you there.